Chapter 2932. Don't be afraid. This time, their attacks won't have any effect on us. They'll even hurt themselves. Night Sorrow, who was using his divine sense to check everyone's reactions, immediately sent a message to them when he noticed that something was wrong. Alright. Everyone who was doubtful could only grit their teeth and continue to charge toward the Xingyuan territory after hearing Night Sorrow's message. However, they were obviously lagging behind the people from the heavenly realm. Even Lan Xian was slightly slower and did not completely burst out with her speed. You're all courting death. Seeing the cultivators from the heavenly realm leading the others to charge toward them, a cold smile appeared on Xinghe's face. At the same time, the countless rays of starlight that they shot out were approaching the myriad sword sect at the forefront of the heavenly realm. They were about to hit him. Are these people from the heavenly realm stupid? Xing Mao, who was beside Xinghe, had a deep glint in her eyes. She could not understand why the cultivators from the heavenly realm would charge forward so recklessly. But soon Xinghe and Xing Mao's expressions changed. Just as the countless rays of starlight were about to hit the myriad sword sect that had transformed into a giant sword, all the starlight in the void changed directions and shot into the sky before disappearing into the void. What's going on? What kind of method did they use? Xinghe's heart skipped a beat when he saw the starlight from his side disappear into the horizon. The method I used is called stellar transposition. Kill. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was the furthest away from the Xingyuan territory, roared in the air. He controlled the starlight to cut through the void and suddenly shot toward the Xingyuan territory. Boom. 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 In an instant, countless rays of starlight bombarded the location where the cultivators from the Xingyuan territory were. Being bombarded by the starlight, loud sounds immediately came from the void. The ground where they were was directly sunk by hundreds of thousands of miles. 1/5 of the entire planet was hit. The cultivators from the Xingyuan territory were originally close to the area. Being bombarded by such dense and terrifying starlight, none of them were unharmed. Moreover, their injuries were quite serious. Quick! Snatch the identity nameplates. I've said it before, Brother Yi will never let us down. The 10,000 Sword sect, which was at the very front, did not hesitate at all from the beginning to the end. Furthermore, they were the fastest. Night Sorrow used the stellar transposition array to control the starlight. After attacking the stellar source territory, he was the first to attack one of the sovereigns. After being struck by the 10,000 Sword sect's sword, the middle-level sovereign of the Star Source territory immediately lost all ability to resist. The 10,000 Sword sect directly took him into their space grotto heaven, successfully capturing him alive. Furthermore, in his space paradise, under his control, the other party had no chance to use his identity token. After capturing one alive, he immediately attacked the other Star Source territory's people. At this time, Xiao Tianxian also arrived. Taking advantage of the unstable morale of the abyssal territory cultivators, he launched a swift and decisive attack. After Xiao Tianxian made his move, the other cultivators arrived one after another and started fighting with the cultivators from the Star Source territory. This stellar transposition formation is too terrifying. There's simply no way to counter us. Xinghe, who was also bombarded by several starlight beams, had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. However, he didn't have time to wipe it off before he started fighting with the 10,000 Sword sect. At this time, everyone from the Star Source territory, including him, was clearly caught off guard and was somewhat stunned. For a moment, it was difficult to decide whether to fight or immediately crush their identity tokens to escape. Just as the people from the Star Source territory were stunned, the people from the God Realm territory had already killed or captured more than 10 sovereigns among them. At this time, Xinghe, whose head was about to explode, finally reacted and said, "Crush your identity token immediately. Escape as many as you can." "No. We won't escape. Our Star Source territory has already advanced to the finals of the battle for Providence 9 times in a row. This time, we will also advance." Hearing Xinghe's words, Xing Mao, who was about to cry, immediately retorted. The defeat and blow came so suddenly that she couldn't accept it. Xinghe sighed and said, "A loss is a loss. It's my tactic that was wrong." Everyone run. In fact, he had the ability to crush his identity token. However, as the captain of the Star Source territory, Xinghe didn't want to leave the others behind and escape by himself. Therefore, he had been fighting and didn't take out his identity token. Xing Mao and Xinghe had a very good relationship. Although they weren't lovers, they were like siblings and hadn't left. As for the others from the Star Source territory, 7 of them successfully escaped. In the end, including Xinghe and Xing Mao, 9 people were captured alive, and a few were killed. Boom. When the people from the God Realm territory controlled Xinghe, Xing Mao, and the other cultivators, the people from the God Realm territory immediately received a 10% boost, and their strength had increased to 30%. Although this kind of power would disappear after leaving the Battle of Providence, it was still a great experience to experience it for a moment. Moreover, with this move, although the people from the God Realm territory and the other 3 territories were injured, none of them died. After the battle ended, they admired Night Sorrow so much that they prostrated themselves on the ground. The trap array that I originally prepared wasn't used at all. The battle against the Star Source territory was a complete one-sided battle. The other party didn't organize a breakout at all. This made Night Sorrow admire the power of those starlights. The starlight released by the people from the Star Source territory was twice as strong as he had expected. This was because in today's battle, the Star Source territory was completely ruthless and didn't hold back at all. In the end, it was self-harm. While sighing, Night Sorrow gathered everyone on the battleship in the void. He said, "People of the Star Source territory, I'll give you 2 choices. One is to swear to the heavens that you will surrender to my God Realm territory and serve us in the battle for Providence. The second is that you will be killed directly, and we will take the identity token ourselves. Just kill me. I, Xinghe, will not surrender to you shameless bandits." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xinghe, who was captured by the Myriad Sword sect and bound in the Space Grotto Heaven, shouted out, "Our God Realm territory acts according to the rules of the battle for Providence, and has a clear conscience. It has nothing to do with bandits. If you participate in the battle, you must be prepared to be killed. This is not our cruelty, but the cruelty of the eternal supreme world. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. If you don't have enough strength, you can only be beaten." Yi Shang said coldly before continuing, "Furthermore, our territory in the realm of the gods has been targeted by the top-ranked territories and suppressed to this level. Yet we have not complained a single word. Instead, we are silently working hard to rise again. If you want to complain, we are more qualified than the Star Source territory." After saying this, Night Sorrow said with killing intent, "I'll give you 20 breaths of time to communicate, and then make your final choice. Submit or die." Genius remembered the address of this site in a second. Human mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 2933. Brother Yi, let's just let them decide. There's no need to give them time to study, right? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Thousand Swords Zong was puzzled. He felt that there was no need to be lenient with captives. The more time we give them, the stronger their will to live. At present, we are still lacking people. If we have the people from Xingyuan territory as helpers, it will be very advantageous for us in some battles. After explaining to Thousand Swords Zong, Night Sorrow continued, "We need to accumulate the most identity tags in the shortest time possible to ensure that the Celestial Realm territories can appear in the second round. Relatively speaking, our current strength is not considered strong. If we encounter a stronger territory, it will be very troublesome." You're right. We can't always encounter a weaker territory. If we don't have enough people, it will be very troublesome. We might be swallowed up by them immediately. That's definitely not a good thing. Thousand Swords Zong immediately understood. He felt that now was not the time to fish for fame. He agreed and continued, "If we can absorb more cultivators from other territories at a critical moment, if we encounter a stronger territory, and we can't win in terms of combat strength, we can let them hold us back. We will escape on our own and look for another opportunity. We'll see when the time comes." Although Night Sorrow was willing to give up a lot of things for the Celestial Realm territories, abandoning his comrades and running away crossed his bottom line. All right. We'll act according to the circumstances. Thousand Swords Zone continued. To him, as long as the Celestial Realm territories were good, he did not care what they did. After that, the two of them gathered the rest of the Celestial Realm territories and discussed some details after their strength increased. Night Sorrow originally wanted the Celestial Realm territories to achieve a good result in the second round and get a good reward. However, after careful consideration, he felt that the tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind, especially when the Celestial Realm was in such a special situation. If the Celestial Realm showed its face in the second round and performed too outstandingly, it would definitely be targeted by people with ulterior motives. In that case, it would definitely be fatal in the finals. Therefore, after careful consideration, he decided to change his plan. He said to everyone, I plan to distribute a large number of identity tags to the cultivators from other territories after obtaining them. They will use their names to exchange for rewards for us. As for our territories in the God Realm, we will try our best to be inconspicuous in order to avoid being targeted by our enemies. We'll try our best in the finals after we further improve our strength during the rest period of the competition for Providence. What do you think? Good idea. This is definitely a good idea. But while it's easy to say, it'll be difficult to actually do it, right? Moromjilu agreed, but he was also puzzled. The cultivators from the other territories were easy to control, but it was difficult to control the number of identity tokens. If they didn't manage the quantity well, they might fail miserably. This matter is indeed not easy to grasp. Therefore, he had to take things one step at a time. He had come up with this idea during the war. Speaking of which, we're just feeling our way across the river. Night Sorrow agreed. He then looked at the others and said, Do you guys have any suitable ideas? After all, my train of thought is limited. Not at the moment, but I think your idea is very good. Pretending to be a coward in front of others, but becoming a king behind the scenes. When it comes to the final battle, we will go all out and strive for an unprecedented result. If you can break through to Dominator, we might be able to achieve results that will shock the entire Eternal Supreme World. Master Wan Jian said excitedly. He felt that after Night Sorrow appeared, the territories in the God Realm had been going in a good direction. In this way, he was indeed the legendary child of destiny. It's indeed very good. We don't need to care about temporary glory, as long as we get the benefits. What's our goal? Xiao Tianxian also agreed. He thought of hiding the results, but he didn't think of controlling multiple territories and getting them to help him get the rewards. In general, his plan wasn't as big as Night Sorrow's. According to my idea, we should at least get a reward for the top 10, and 3 to 5 rewards for the top 100. If we get these rewards, our strength will definitely increase. Before the finals, I will break through to Dominator, and all of you will reach peak Dominator. After all, there are only 9 of us, and the format of the finals isn't fixed, so an alliance might not be useful. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said his idea. The rewards he mentioned were calculated. It was enough for all of them to break through. Very good, let's fight according to this goal. Master Wan Jian said excitedly. The current state of the God Realm made him very happy. Yuan Fengxue, Jin Xian, and the others were also in a good mood. Originally, they were all worried about the depletion of the God Realm's karmic luck. However, after Night Sorrow's appearance, the situation immediately changed. That's about it. If there's a deviation, we'll plan carefully. Night Sorrow said to everyone again, then continued. I'll go talk to the Star Source territory. If they're not willing to cooperate, we'll just take it that we've obtained 9 identity tokens. After that, he sent a voice transmission to the Star Source territory's people, who were in his own space grotto heaven. Time's up. What's your decision? We've discussed it. We can agree to your request, but we can't leave our identity tokens. This way, if there's a life and death crisis, we can crush our identity tokens and leave. Also, if you have enough identity tokens, you'll have to give some to the Star Source territory. We want to advance to the finals. After Night Sorrow spoke, Xinghe, who had already prepared an answer, replied firmly. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, there's no problem at all, but I have a request for you. First, you have to swear to the heavens that you won't use your identity tokens to leave for no reason. Second, we promise to let you advance to the finals, but if you get a ranking reward, you have to return it to the God realm after you've received it. How about this? There's no problem at all. However, our cooperation will end after the second round. If everyone advances to the finals, the Star Source territory will no longer work for you. Xing Mao, and the others discussed for a while before continuing to speak to Night Sorrow. After talking, they felt that there was no value in dying in the second round. Therefore, they decided to temporarily submit to the God realm and fight for them. Okay. Then it's decided. Night Sorrow, who had a plan in mind, was quite satisfied with this result. However, just as he was about to ask the Star Source territories people to swear, using the Sea Serpent's eye, he saw a battleship on the horizon heading towards them. Clan M. Chapter 2934. This battleship was enormous, 4 to 5 times larger than the black battleship obtained by the Heavenly Realm. Even though it was just an ordinary voyage, one could already see its might. Everyone pay attention. There's a battleship outside. Everyone, get ready for battle. The moment the battleship appeared, Night Sorrow reminded the people of the Heavenly Realm and Blue Heart. He told them to pay attention to the battleship's movements and get ready for battle. The 10,000 Sword Sect, Xiao Tianxian, and the others also sensed the presence of the warship after Yi Shang's warning. However, they couldn't see its origin or identify its identity. Blue Heart, Cliff Mountain Nether Lord, and the others from the other territories all changed their expressions. Blue Heart said with a heavy expression, "This is the battleship of the Heavenly Shadow Territory. They ranked 2,172 in the last battle for Providence. Their overall strength is definitely strong. In the second round, they'll definitely rank in the top 200. We're in danger." Top 200? Then we have to take them down. Thousand Sword Sect immediately perked up when he heard Blue Heart's words. He felt that the stronger the opponent, the better. What do you know? The cultivators of the Heavenly Shadow Territory are extremely difficult to deal with. With our strength, we're definitely no match for them. Blue Heart glanced at Thousand Sword Sect and felt that he was being blindly confident. Hearing Blue Heart's words, Night Sorrow asked Xing He of the Star Source Territory, "Do you know anything about the Heavenly Shadow Territory? If you do, can you introduce them to me?" The territories participating in the second round of the Battle for Providence should all know about the Heavenly Shadow Territory. Xing He in the Space Grotto Heaven shook his head. He didn't understand why Night Sorrow didn't know about the Heavenly Shadow Territory. Then he continued, "Although this Sky Shadow Territory was ranked 2172 in the last World War, their true strength is definitely within the top 2,000. They were unlucky to encounter a territory that was ranked in the top 30 and were defeated. I think their overall strength in the second round of the Battle for Providence will rank at least in the top 20. They might even rank first." What Blue Heart said outside isn't accurate. So they're that strong? However, I feel that the stronger they are, the better. Hearing Xing He's words, Night Sorrow's face was filled with the same fighting spirit as Thousand Sword Sects. "You can't be serious, right? Are you preparing to fight with the Sky Shadow Territory?" Seeing Night Sorrow's fighting spirit, Xing He was a little speechless, but before he could speak, Xing Mao spoke first. As far as she was concerned, even if the members of the Star Source Territory submitted to the Heavenly Shadow Territory, the ragtag army before her was no match for the Heavenly Shadow Territory. Night Sorrow retorted, "Of course. Why else would we choose to flee in the warship? Since I'm at a disadvantage, I naturally have to escape first. What's so shameful about that?" Xing Mao said matter-of-factly. "Why do you think that we are weaker than the Sky Shadow Territory?" Yi Shang observed the battleship that was getting closer and closer in the void and smiled confidently. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xing Mao snorted disdainfully and said, "This is a fact that anyone with eyes can see. Don't think that you're invincible in the War of Providence, just because you defeated my Star Source Territory by luck." Haha. I don't want to argue with you. However, I want to tell you that on the path of cultivation, although talent and hard work are important, vision and courage are equally important. Night Sorrow said to Xing Mao and then ordered, "Hurry up and swear a heavenly oath. We might need you in the battle later. If you insist on fighting with the Heavenly Shadow territory, then it won't matter whether we swear a heavenly oath or not," Xing Mao said in despair. She felt that the Heavenly Shadow territory was still far away. Yi Shang could take everyone and escape. If you only have this much courage, then it's indeed useless. Xinghe, do you think so too? Night Sorrow ignored Xing Mao and said to Xinghe, "Regardless of whether it's useful or not, my Star Source territory is a man of his word. We won't go back on what we've discussed. Let's swear a heavenly oath." Xinghe obviously felt that the celestial realm had no chance, but he didn't say it out loud. Instead, he ordered everyone to swear a heavenly oath. At this moment, Xing Mao said unhappily, "What's the use of swearing a heavenly oath? You can crush your identity token and return to the Star Source territory. We don't need people like you who disturb the morale of the army," Night Sorrow said coldly after Xing Mao spoke again. Moreover, he felt that she was a little retarded. She seemed to have forgotten how they had lost. With the help of the stellar transposition array, even if the Heavenly Shadow territory was very strong, they didn't have much chance of winning against the celestial realm. "Night Sorrow, please give Xing Mao a chance. She won't speak like that in the future," Xinghe immediately said when he saw that Night Sorrow was chasing Xing Mao away. It was impossible for the entire Star Source territory to give up on this battle. Moreover, he didn't want Xing Mao to go back with a face full of dirt. "Only this once," Night Sorrow said and released everyone who had sworn a heavenly oath. At the same time, he looked at the others and said, "Everyone prepare for battle. Last time we attacked. This time we will defend. However, the essence is the same. We just have to defeat the opponent." "Good. The celestial realm will win." After Yi Shang finished speaking, the rest of the people in the God realm roared in unison. "Trash celestial realm. What are you all doing? You still want to win? When you encounter the Heavenly Shadow territory, you'd better crush your nameplates and run back. Otherwise, you will all die here." After the celestial realm's people shouted, Tianning, the vice-captain of the Heavenly Shadow territory, mocked them. "I'll say the same thing to the Heavenly Shadow territory. If you want to live, scram. Otherwise I'll kill all of you." After the vice-captain of the Heavenly Shadow territory spoke, Myriad Jianzong immediately said with disdain. At this time, Night Sorrow transmitted a message to Myriad Jianzong. "Try to make them angry and attack us. The array can only last for a limited time." Setting up a huge stellar transposition array required a lot of materials and required a lot of energy. The array couldn't last forever. "Brother Yi, don't worry. I'm good at this kind of thing." After hearing Night Sorrow's message, Myriad Jianzong replied and looked at the void again, preparing to shout something. However, at this time, a total of 40 cultivators with strong auras flew down from the huge battleship. The leader of the group was the vice-captain of the Heavenly Shadow territory, Tianning. "You're the one who shouted just now. Look at your pointy mouth and monkey-like face. You're definitely not the leader of the Heavenly Shadow territory, right? Let him come out and talk." Myriad Jianzong shouted when he saw the people flying down. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2935. One team from the Sky Shadow territory is enough to deal with you. Tianning looked down at the people below with disdain. Then he ordered, "Kill them all. Kill them all. Especially the talkative one." Tianning, the vice-captain of the Sky Shadow territory, pointed at Master Wan Jian. "Don't worry, Captain Yu. We won't let anyone off. Unless they crush their nameplates right now." Tianning's subordinates replied. Then immediately attacked the people from the God realm. Tianning, who was floating in the void, observed for a while and sneered. "Do you really think you're so strong? I'll let you see the strength of my subordinates." In fact, the total number of people from the Sky Shadow territory participating in the second round was only 40. However, through plundering, they had evolved into 2 teams with 40 cultivators. The team in front of them was led by Tianning. The other team was led by the strongest person in the Sky Shadow territory, Tian Yingwushwang. Tian Yingwushwang and Tianning were about the same number of people, but their combat power was stronger. Aren't you also a bunch of trash? What are you showing off for? Master Wan Jian shouted. Then he looked at Tianning and said, Do you dare to fight me? Do I, Tianning, dare to fight you? Who do you think you are? An expert from the 10 great territories? Tianning sneered when he heard Master Wan Jian's words. Cut the crap. Do you dare or not? Come over here, and let's fight one-on-one. Master Wan Jian shouted when he saw that Tianning was still floating in the void instead of flying towards the array. Good, good, good. I, Tianning, was not prepared to drink blood today, but you insisted on it. Tianning thought highly of himself after being challenged. He felt that it was a humiliation to be challenged by a cultivator from the God realm. You speak as if you're an expert from the 10 great territories. Come, let me see what you're capable of. Wan Jianzong said unwillingly. Tianning's aura seemed to be stronger than his, but he was not worried at all because of the star-shifting formation. Tianning, who felt provoked, executed the strongest movement technique of the Sky Shadow tribe. Invisible Sky Shadow technique. Tianning's body immediately disappeared into the void when he executed this movement technique. The 10,000 Swords Master immediately felt his life threatened. He transmitted his voice. Brother Yi, save me. Don't worry, there's no need to be afraid. You can attack at will, and I can control where he appears. When he comes, we'll cooperate well. Night Sorrow wasn't going to attack, but he was going to control the stellar transposition array to deal with the people from the Sky Shadow estate. After replying to the 10,000 Swords sect, Night Sorrow looked at the others and said, We will definitely win this battle. Feel free to use your ultimate techniques. Also remember, even if your life is in danger, don't crush your identity plates. I have a way to save you. Yishang, you mean, how are you going to save us? Everyone was confused. They didn't know what to do, so Lan Xian asked for everyone. You are all in the stellar transposition array. If anyone is in danger, I will help you. You will understand when the battle starts. I am the god who controls everything in the array. Yishang explained briefly, and then focused his attention to prepare for the start of the battle. At this moment, Tianning was the fastest among the people from the Sky Shadow estate. Because his bloodline talent was the strongest, he rushed to the front. Seeing him rushing toward the 10,000 Swords Master, Night Sorrow said, Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Myriad Sword sect. Once you're close enough, attack in any direction. I won't let your attack miss. Understood. The 10,000 Swords Master thought for a moment and smiled. Although he couldn't see Tianning's attack clearly, he knew Night Sorrow's ability. When Tianning's aura was close enough, he immediately attacked the void with the Great Deity Sword technique. The direction he attacked was ridiculously crooked. Tianning, Lan Xian, Xinghe, and the others were all stunned. They didn't understand what the 10,000 Swords Master was doing. Endless doubts arose in their hearts. Ah, I understand now. You are weaker than I thought. You can't see me at all, so you can only attack at will. Tianning, who was using the invisible Sky Shadow technique, suddenly seemed to understand something. The rest of the people from the Sky Shadow estate laughed. They felt that the cultivators from the heavenly realm were too unreliable. How shameful. Brother Wan, get ready. I am going to activate the array. At this moment, Yishang transmitted a message to the Myriad Sword sect and completely activated the two formations. Then he threw Tianning in front of the 10,000 Swords Master. Boom. Tianning, who was laughing at the 10,000 Swords Master, was immediately sent flying by the Great Deity Sword technique. The 10,000 Swords Master's strength was not weak. Now that Tianning was unprepared, he was severely injured. Laugh. Why don't you laugh again? After one successful attack, the Myriad Sword sect attacked him again. Oh no! This place is very strange. There must be an array here. Everyone retreat immediately. I can't control my position at this critical moment. After being injured, Tianning's expression became serious. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? The 10,000 Swords Master was not going to let Tianning escape. He immediately chased after him. At this time, Night Sorrow said with a smile, "There's no need to chase. You can attack again." "Yes. With you here, what's the point of chasing?" The 10,000 Swords Master laughed and once again used the ridiculously crooked Great Deity sword technique. This time, no one in the Sky Shadow Estate dared to laugh at him. Everyone's expression was very serious. Boom. After a moment, Tianning was hit again. After being hit twice in a row, he was on the verge of death. The rest of the Sky Shadow Estate saw that Tianning was about to die. They could only brace themselves and charge forward. Of course, at the front of the team were naturally the cannon fodder from the other estates. Now everyone should understand that I was not bluffing. In this battle, no one is a match for us. Night Sorrow, who had easily defeated Tianning with the help of the 10,000 Swords Master, saw that the people of the Sky Shadow Estate were about to attack. He immediately preached to the others and let them fight. "Everyone follow me. Kill." After Night Sorrow spoke, Xiao Tianxian immediately led the others and charged forward. This time, Night Sorrow and the 10,000 Swords Master did not use the combined attack technique with them. However, he knew that Night Sorrow was fighting side by side with him. He did not panic at all. As for Xing He and Xing Mao, who had already understood Night Sorrow's ability, they were extremely shocked when they saw each other. The ability that Night Sorrow had displayed had truly shaken them to the core. Xing Mao, who originally thought that Night Sorrow was a frog at the bottom of a well, suddenly felt that her cheeks had been slapped red. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2936. As for the people of the Heavenly Shadow Estate, they were all caught off guard by Night Sorrow's ability. After Tianning gave the order, they all panicked. Although they had the advantage in numbers, their fighting strength was naturally reduced when their morale was shaken. The Myriad Sword Sect, which had been keeping an eye on Tianning, had been pressuring him, so he had no time to recover from his injuries. Cannon fodder, self-destruct. Seeing that the situation was not good, Tianning immediately gave the order. He ordered the cultivators of the other estates to self-destruct. Tianning did not treat the cultivators who had submitted to him as human beings. It was completely different from what the Heavenly Realm Estate did. Boom, boom, boom. After Tianning gave the order, the cultivators of the other estates had no choice but to self-destruct, although they were unwilling to die like this. How cruel! In an instant, more than 10 sovereign realm cultivators had self-destructed. This power was extremely terrifying. When the self-destruction began, the cultivators of the Heavenly Realm Estate and the other estates were shocked. Soon they realized that Night Sorrow could not only teleport his opponents and skills, but he could also teleport his own people. He had allowed everyone to remain unharmed in the violent self-destruction. This array is really omnipotent. Xing Mao, who had been fighting with the cultivators of the Heavenly Shadow Estate, put away the contempt in her heart and said solemnly. Now she completely understood why they had lost. In such a formation, not to mention them, even the territories ranked at the top would not have any chance. Of course, the estates that could break the array did not count. I've always felt that Night Sorrow was not simple. Xing He, who was fighting, looked into the void to find Night Sorrow's position, but he did not find anything. At this moment, Night Sorrow seemed to have completely merged with the array. Quick, quick, contact the other team, and ask them to rescue the people outside. Seeing that the self-destruction did not work, Tianning panicked. At this moment he had been hit consecutively, and his strength had been reduced to less than 10%. He could not fight anymore. After giving the order, he sent a message to the people of the Heavenly Shadow Estate, saying, "If you have no other choice, crush your identity nameplates to protect yourself. We've really lost this time." Tianning felt aggrieved after being defeated so thoroughly. He regretted that he had charged over without caring about anything else. He entered the strange formation before him. This formation was completely dominated by a single person. This feeling made him feel extremely hopeless. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly had an epiphany while everyone was fighting. He thought to himself, if I can set up such a formation in the entire eternal supreme world, will I become truly invincible? After thinking about it carefully, Night Sorrow felt that it was unrealistic. However, he felt that some thoughts had been opened up. But at this time, Tianning could not hold on any longer. He took out his identity plate and was about to crush it. Night Sorrow immediately interrupted his train of thought and used stellar transposition to retrieve the nameplate in his hand. He appeared from the void of space and said, "If you want to live, there is a way." "What is it?" Tianning asked with a serious expression. Originally, he had wanted to rise to the top in the Heavenly Shadow territory because of this battle of providence. However, the crushing defeat in front of him had dealt him a heavy blow. At the same time, he understood that there were tens of thousands of realms in the eternal supreme world. There were too many secret techniques, secret treasures, and divine artifact arrays. No territory could be underestimated. If they had been more cautious, they would not have failed so quickly. "Tell everyone to stop. I don't want to talk to a bunch of dead people." Night Sorrow glanced at Tianning. At this time, there were still 17 cultivators left in the Heavenly Shadow territory. None of the cultivators from the Heavenly Shadow territory had died. If they continued to fight, there would be no one left in the Heavenly Shadow territory. "Okay. All of you stop. Come to me." Tianning, who was standing in the void, was very weak. He called the remaining cultivators of the Heavenly Shadow territory over and continued, "Speak. My idea is very simple. We will help the Heavenly Shadow territory enter the top 10 in the second round of the Battle of Providence, but the reward will be ours." Night Sorrow looked at Tianning and the others of the Heavenly Shadow territory and said, "Do you know what you are talking about?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Tianning said disdainfully, "You want to control a puppet territory and enter the top 10 with just the few of you? If I give you the reward, what about the Providence? If you and your other team all submit, I am confident that I can send you to the top 10. The Providence will naturally belong to the Heavenly Shadow territory. But I want all the rules and essences of the reward." Night Sorrow said confidently. The Heavenly Shadow territory had some reputation in the Battle of Providence. No one would doubt that he could push them to the top 10. After they appeared, Night Sorrow had the idea of subduing them. He secretly warned the Myriad Sword sect to show mercy. Otherwise, Tianning would have been killed long ago. I, Tianning, can choose to agree to your request under such circumstances. But I will not betray the other team in my territory. Also, I don't believe that you have the strength to send us to the top 10. Tianning, Xinghe Xingmao, and the others felt that Night Sorrow was too arrogant. He was the Divine King, but he had the feeling that he controlled everything, which made people uncomfortable. Usually, when the Divine King saw these powerful genius sovereigns, he would have to bow to them. But now Night Sorrow could easily suppress them. Before the battle, you also didn't believe that we could defeat the Heavenly Shadow territory without bloodshed. Night Sorrow smiled and continued. Also, you have already betrayed the other team. Let's wait for them to come. Tianning's expression changed when he heard this. Then he smiled. The leader of the other team is not on good terms with me, so he might not come. You should give up the idea of dealing with them. Now that things had developed to this point, he no longer begged to be rescued. He also didn't want the other team in the Heavenly Shadow territory to be enslaved by the realm of the gods like them. You are wrong. They are very close to you. So close that you can't imagine. Night Sorrow glanced at the void and said, "If I'm not wrong, they are probably looking for an opportunity to kill you." Then Night Sorrow used the star-shifting formation to simulate a fake battle scene. In these battle scenes, the people from the realm of the gods and Tianning's team were fighting very fiercely. Both sides looked like they were going to perish together, and the consumption was extremely great. He had already used the sea serpent's eye to find the other team in the Heavenly Shadow territory, and he wanted to lure them into the formation. Genius 1 second memorized the address of this site. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2937. Impossible. Don't sow discord here. Although Tianning doesn't get along with me, he's the captain. He won't attack me in the battle of Providence. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tianning, who had recovered a little bit of his strength, retorted in disbelief. Do you have to wait for someone to put a knife to your neck before you come to your senses? Night Sorrow sneered and continued, then we'll wait and see. When they arrive, cooperate with me to put on a show. Then you'll see their true colors. Okay. We'll cooperate with you. If unparalleled Sky Shadow really attacks us. Tianning suddenly paused. He had originally wanted to say that if Tianning Wushuang's team attacked them, he would lead his subordinates to help Yishan deal with Tianning Wushuang and the others. However, after thinking about it, Tianning felt that he didn't have the right to say those words. If they attack you, I'll help you to get rid of them. Then you'll listen to the command of the realm of gods. How about that? Night Sorrow looked at Tianning and the others present. What do you all think? Tianning looked back at the people behind him and asked. If Tianning Wushuang really did such a thing, we must kill him no matter what the cost. One of the rulers of the Sky Shadow estate said angrily. He then continued, but Tianning is here to rescue us. Even if we die, we shouldn't submit to the realm of gods. Yes. That's what we think too. The others of the Sky Shadow estate nodded in agreement. In fact, this was similar to what Tianning had thought. Therefore, Tianning looked at Night Sorrow and said, I agree. However, you don't have to help us at all. Why do you have to do this? Although the realm of gods hopes to find one of the top 10 territories to cover for us and get the rewards of the Battle of Providence. However, we can't accept cultivators who plot against our own people. Night Sorrow said, then pointed to the void and said, see for yourselves. Looking in the direction Night Sorrow pointed, they saw the fierce battle between the realm of gods and them. Naturally, it was an extremely tragic battle. Just as Tianning and the Myriad Sword sect were fighting to the point where both sides were heavily injured, the team led by Tianning suddenly charged out of the void and charged toward the people, in the middle of the battle. Tianning Wushuang, who was at the front, immediately attacked Tianning in the image. However, his long spear naturally flashed past Tianning's body. No. We've been tricked. Although the aura is real, what we saw was all in the illusion array of gods. Tianning, you can really do such a thing. When Tianning saw Tian, SSSing use. Tian, T, S Tiantitas S anger, Est SS have, S. It wasn't just Tianning. Some of the cultivators around him were furious as well. Tianning Wushuang was their captain, and the #1 figure of the Tianning territory in the Battle of Providence. However, he was preparing to eliminate dissidents in the battle. This behavior made them very unhappy. When Night Sorrow removed the illusion array of shifting stars, Tianning immediately saw the confused Tianning. He said furiously, Tianning Wushuang, I Tianning never thought that you would actually want to kill me. How can you eliminate your opponents like this? Are you worthy of the Sky Shadow territory? My name is Tianning. I won't be on par with anyone else. I can only be unique, so you must die. Although I don't know what method you used to confuse me with an illusion, you will definitely be killed. Tianning Wushuang looked at Tianning coldly and ordered mercilessly. Kill everyone here. Tianning, I Tianning will kill you today. When Tianning saw that Tianning didn't even want to talk to him, he finally understood what was going on. He shouted and sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. I agree to any of your requests. Help us kill Tianning. You want to kill me? Do you think you and these trashy cultivators can kill me? Just wait for your death. Unparalleled Sky Shadow said coldly and flew towards Sky Shadow Zhang. He wanted to end his life right there and then. Okay. At this moment, Night Sorrow replied to Tianning and secretly controlled the Star Shift Great Array. He also sent a voice transmission to Myriad Sword Sect. Help. Do your best to kill the people who appear later, and take their identity plates. Okay. With this formation of yours, they aren't a threat at all. Master Myriad Swords chuckled, then joined Xiao Tianxian and the others in fighting alongside Tianning and the others. Tianning and the others had consumed a lot of energy and hadn't fully recovered. In fact, their combat strength was not strong. However, with the celestial realm, Xingyuan territory, Nether Soul territory, Cliff Peak territory, and Blue Heart, their combat strength was still very strong. Most importantly, there was Yi Shang, who was like a creator. On their side, they were not at a disadvantage at all after the battle started. By the time Peerless Heavenly Shadow discovered the stellar transposition Grand Array, it was already too late to retreat. He sent a voice transmission to the cultivators under him. Try to use melee attacks to protect yourselves. There is an expert controlling the formation hidden here. I will go and find him. Who do you want to find? Myriad Sword Sect, who defeated Tianning with Night Sorrow's help, was furious when he heard Tianning say that he wanted to find Night Sorrow. I will kill you first, then I will kill the person controlling the formation. Heavenly Shadow Wushuang gave a cold snort and executed one of Heavenly Shadow Territory's great techniques. The Traceless Sky Shadow allowed him to merge with the void. Where is he? Why can't I feel any primordial chi? After Tianning fused with the void, Myriad Sword Sect immediately felt a strong sense of danger. He knew that if Night Sorrow wasn't controlling the formation behind him, he definitely wouldn't be Tianying's opponent. However, when he thought of Night Sorrow's abilities, Myriad Sword Sect immediately roared. Great Immortal Sword Technique. Then he casually used the Great Immortal Sword Technique in a direction. You can't find me, so you started to attack randomly? Tianning, who was hiding in the void, saw Myriad Sword Sect's random attack and immediately mocked. However, what he didn't expect was that after Myriad Sword Sect's sword bombarded out, it seemed to be far away. But in the next moment, it appeared in front of him. Even if Tianying's void movement technique was very mysterious, he couldn't dodge this attack that appeared out of nowhere. Suddenly, the sword slammed into his shoulder blade, directly shattering his left shoulder. Clanem. Chapter 2938. What's going on? He can actually discover my location? His left shoulder was shattered by the sword, and his heart was almost exposed. Unparalleled Sky Shadow immediately coughed up a mouthful of blood. Amidst his shock, he completely realized that this was another function of the formation. Not only could the formation change the cultivator's attack at will, but it could also determine everyone's location. This was simply a heaven-defying effect. No. I must find him or break the formation directly. After thinking for a moment, Unparalleled Sky Shadow suddenly roared. Unparalleled Sky Shadow Technique. With a bang, he disappeared into the void again. He felt that the movement technique he used just now was a little shallow and could not hide himself, so he immediately used his Bloodline Ultimate skill. Unparalleled Sky Shadow Technique was engraved in his palm when he was born. It was also because of this that his parents named him Unparalleled Sky Shadow. Unparalleled Sky Shadow Technique. It's really mysterious. After Unparalleled Sky Shadow used the Unparalleled Sky Shadow Technique to hide in the void, Night Sorrow immediately sighed. This was because he discovered that even in the formation he controlled, he could not find any trace of Unparalleled Sky Shadow. This was a very dangerous signal. If Unparalleled Sky Shadow wanted to assassinate someone present, he did not know if he could withstand it. Everyone quickly attack and kill everyone else. I'll cooperate with you. Unable to find Unparalleled Sky Shadow's location, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to Myriad Sword Sect, Blue Heart, and the others, telling them to quickly finish off everyone else. Okay. After Myriad Sword Sect and the others responded, they immediately attacked the others in Sky Shadow territory. Tianning, who had recovered a little, also attacked completely and began a massacre. He did not show any mercy to Unparalleled Sky Shadow and the others who wanted to kill him. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Unparalleled Sky Shadow's Bloodline Ultimate Skill, Unparalleled Sky Shadow Technique. As long as he doesn't move in the void, no one can discover him, not even Supremes. However, if he attacks, he will appear. Good. That's easy. Night Sorrow immediately felt relieved when he heard Tianning's words. He ignored Tianning Wushuang and cooperated with the others to attack the people brought by Tianning Wushuang. During this process, Night Sorrow had been paying attention to Unparalleled Sky Shadow's fluctuations. Even when he took out his identity token, he would discover him. However, Tianning Wushuang did not appear even after everyone had killed his subordinates. You're really ruthless. After the battle ended, unparalleled heavenly shadow did not appear at all. Night Sorrow shouted towards the void. Then he began to set up the array, strengthening the trapping array, and adding in a lot of illusory arrays. This could guarantee that unparalleled heavenly shadow would not be able to leave within 100 years. After he was done, Night Sorrow said, "Let's go. He can no longer pose a threat to us in the second round of the battle for Providence. From now on, we will focus on fighting and seize as many doppelganger nameplates as possible." Good. However, it's very likely that Tianning Wushuang already has a large number of identity nameplates that we can't get. He will probably wait until the end of the second round before he appears, Xiao Tianxian said regretfully. Don't worry, it's only been a few years. We still have a lot of time later. In addition, after killing so many juggernauts and obtaining so many laws and essences, I should be able to advance to the peak of the upper Divine King after absorbing them. My combat strength can rise to another level. After Night Sorrow said this, he called everyone over and said, "Next, we will fight in the name of the Heavenly Shadow territory. However, I will enter a state of cultivation. Everyone, listen to Xiao Tianxuan's command. The Myriad Sword sect will cooperate." Good. We have no objections. It's the same to listen to anyone. Xinghe of the Star Source territory immediately said. As for the Nether Soul territory and the Rock Peak territory, which had cooperated with Night Sorrow earlier, there was nothing to say. They agreed one after another. As for the Myriad Sword sect, he was not very interested in commanding. He liked to rush up and fight, so he had no objections. Lon Xian was in charge of setting the route. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow returned to the array, collected all the scattered laws and essences using a spatial artifact, and prepared to board the warship to meet up with the others. Murderous aura. However, just as Night Sorrow left the array, he suddenly felt a faint murderous aura behind him. He immediately hid in the distance. Night Sorrow, what's wrong with you? Seeing Night Sorrow's expression suddenly change and hide, Xiao Tianxian immediately asked with concern. Just now, there was a murderous aura approaching me from the void. I was hiding. Night Sorrow explained. The moment he finished his explanation, he felt the murderous aura again. Night Sorrow continued. There's still murderous aura. Could it be the unparalleled heavenly shadow following us? Isn't your array formation very mysterious? Logically speaking, he can't come out so easily, right? Xiao Tianxian said with a frown. If an existence that could hide in the void kept following them, it would be too uncomfortable. At this moment, Tianning Yu said, I know. The unparalleled heavenly shadow must have cultivated the unparalleled heavenly shadow technique to the legendary realm. He was attached to your shadow just now and followed you out of the array formation. That's one of his secret techniques. It can be done like that. Night Sorrow, who had activated the sea serpent's eye, immediately observed his surroundings. When he looked around, the murderous aura around him suddenly disappeared, and he didn't find anyone. It's not easy to deal with, but it doesn't matter. We'll just proceed normally. The unparalleled heavenly shadow alone can't pose much of a threat. Night Sorrow said and went to Tianning Yu's battleship to set up an array. Ignoring the murderous aura around him, he directly absorbed the sovereign laws and essence. When Night Sorrow absorbed these laws and essence, the murderous aura was still there, making people uneasy. However, Night Sorrow ignored it and continued to absorb. Night Sorrow is definitely taking a risk by doing this. Not far away, Xiao Tianxian secretly sighed as he watched Night Sorrow cultivate. Myriad Sword Sect said with a smile, Don't worry about Night Sorrow. He'll definitely be fine. Let's see if the unparalleled heavenly shadow is courting death. Myriad Sword Sect was 100% assured about Night Sorrow. He felt that he wasn't a reckless person at all. Cultivating under such circumstances definitely meant that he had the confidence to fight against the unparalleled heavenly shadow. With my current cultivation speed, I should be able to reach the peak of the Divine King in 2 years, which is the half-step sovereign. Night Sorrow, who ignored the murderous aura, quickly entered the state and quickly absorbed the laws and essence from the heavenly shadow territory's cultivators. Meanwhile, the murderous aura around him was getting heavier and heavier. Even though he was cultivating, Yishang could clearly sense it. Clearly, he was absorbing the laws and essence of the Heavenly Shadow Territory's cultivators, which made the unparalleled Heavenly Shadow even angrier. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2939. Originally, Sky Shadow Territory's goal in this battle for Providence was to enter the top 2,000 and strive to enter the top 1,000. Now he had fallen to such a miserable state. Sky Shadow Territory had submitted to the Divine World, and he, Sky Shadow, was left alone. He could only rely on his bloodline to hide in the void and wait for an opportunity to attack. This was already the most miserable ending he could imagine. Night Sorrow is it. I, Sky Shadow, will let you suffer the torture of killing intent, and then kill you when you least expect it. Sky Shadow, who was hidden in the void, was like a floating ghost, staring at Night Sorrow. He used the faint killing intent to interfere with his cultivation. It was impossible for Night Sorrow to be 100% unaffected by Sky Shadow's interference. But overall, the speed at which he absorbed the laws and essence was not much affected. At the same time, Night Sorrow was also using the Sea Serpent's Eye to absorb the laws and essence, wanting to improve it further. The fact that he could not see Sky Shadow rang the alarm bell for Night Sorrow. It made him realize that the Eternal Supreme World was countless strong and had endless means. He had to strengthen his own special means. In addition to the Sea Serpent's Eye, Night Sorrow began to think about the power of merit and the taboo attribute. In the Eternal Supreme World, there were countless geniuses and sovereigns everywhere. The taboo attribute was not too surprising, so it was not considered surprising. Whether Night Sorrow temporarily gave up using the power of merit or not, he could still use it normally. As for his greatest advantage, it was that the Immortal God technique was balanced and did not have any obvious shortcomings. His body had the golden body, and his vitality and divine spirit were also very strong, far surpassing those of the same level. After thinking carefully, Night Sorrow thought to himself, it seems that at present, the most important point to achieve good results in the final competition is to advance to the sovereign level. This is my greatest advantage. It's just that I'm not sure what kind of strength the top territories have. Although Night Sorrow had never said it, the result he wanted in the final competition was definitely not the top 1,000. Damn it. At this rate, he will definitely become stronger and stronger. Is he not afraid of my murderous aura? While Night Sorrow was constantly pondering and absorbing the laws and essence, unparalleled Sky Shadow, who was hidden in the void, couldn't help but want to attack. Originally, he wanted to intimidate Night Sorrow and make him uneasy. Then, when the firmament's territory was at war with the other territories, he would choose to make a move. But now, as he watched Night Sorrow continuously absorb the laws and essence of the Sky Shadow Sovereign, his aura grew stronger and stronger. Unparalleled Heaven Shadow could no longer hold himself back. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly appeared in the void and unleashed the Heaven's Shadow Annihilation. After the Heaven's Shadow Annihilation technique was used, the essence energy of the world seemed to gather at the fingertips of the Heaven's Shadow Unparalleled. Then he struck his 2 fingers at Night Sorrow, who was in the midst of cultivation. Why aren't you moving? When the power gathered at his 2 fingers struck out, Unparalleled Sky Shadow was stunned because he found that Night Sorrow didn't move at all, and was still sitting in the same place, cultivating. Unparalleled Sky Shadow was clear that with his strength, if he forcefully struck Night Sorrow's head, his divine sea would definitely shatter immediately. Who said I'm not moving? At this moment, Night Sorrow's voice rang in Unparalleled Sky Shadow's ears. What? Hearing Night Sorrow's voice, Unparalleled Sky Shadow was immediately shocked. When he came back to his senses, he immediately felt an extremely terrifying force attacking him. Night Sorrow, who had lured Unparalleled Sky Shadow out, directly used a half-step Supreme Divine Artifact. This was also considered respect for Unparalleled Sky Shadow. Moreover, after Unparalleled Sky Shadow came out, Night Sorrow directly used the Horn Clan's secret technique to remember his aura. This time, no matter what, the other party could no longer hide. As the saying went, How could one allow others to sleep beside one's bed? Unparalleled Sky Shadow had been hiding in the void, so how could Night Sorrow be completely at ease? After he arrived on the Sky Shadow Territory's battleship, he set up an exquisite illusion array, and had been cultivating in the illusion array. Unparalleled Sky Shadow also saw the same thing, but the position he saw was different from the real position. That kind of distance was like the refraction of water. Therefore, after Unparalleled Sky Shadow attacked, he could clearly see that he also directly used the half-step Supreme Divine Artifact Golden Heavenly Halberd, and blasted out the Reincarnation Spear. Unparalleled Sky Shadow, who was on guard but obviously didn't expect Night Sorrow to attack him from behind, was immediately seriously injured. If not for the high grade of his protective treasure, his Dantian would have been directly shattered by Night Sorrow's attack. How did you do it? Unparalleled Sky Shadow coldly questioned, and prepared to use his bloodline secret technique again to hide in the void. The battleship was only so big. If he caused such a big commotion, the others would quickly surround him. This was what Unparalleled Sky Shadow didn't want to see. You have some tricks, but others have more. This time, you can't escape even if you have wings. Prepare to die. Night Sorrow looked at Unparalleled Sky Shadow and said. Then he attacked again and blasted out the Yang Clan sky-splitting art. Then he attacked Unparalleled Sky Shadow with the Divine Origin Trapping Array and the Merit Trapping Array. Under the influence of the Double Trapping Array, how could Unparalleled Sky Shadow escape? Although he disappeared into the void, it was obvious that he was still in the array. With a loud bang, the Sky Shadow Territory's battleship trembled from Night Sorrow's attack. Although Unparalleled Sky Shadow, who was hidden in the void, didn't show himself, he was ruthlessly bombarded. Bastard! I, Unparalleled Sky Shadow, am unwilling to accept this. After being hit by Night Sorrow's 2 consecutive attacks, Unparalleled Sky Shadow was seriously injured. Now he only had one choice left, and that was to crush his identity plate and give up the battle for Providence. But if he did that, he wouldn't be able to take the identity plate away, and it would all be taken advantage of by Night Sorrow. Therefore, he was very unwilling. Now you understand who's the hunter and who's the prey, right? So what if you can hide in the void? Night Sorrow snorted coldly and unleashed another attack. But this move was Soft Dragon Roar, a move that attacked the Divine Soul. After being hit by Soft Dragon Roar for a while, Unparalleled Sky Shadow completely couldn't hold on anymore. Helpless, he could only say hatefully, Night Sorrow, I, Unparalleled Sky Shadow, will remember you. One day, I'll definitely slaughter my way to the Divine World Territory and take your life. As for Tianing you submitting to the people of the Divine World Territory won't have a good outcome. Whether I want an outcome or not, it's not up to you to say. But no matter what, I'll be stronger than you. After all, you've already become a desperate dog. Although he couldn't see Unparalleled Sky Shadow in the void, Tianing was clear that he must be incomparably miserable. Otherwise he wouldn't shout out such words. I'll report you to Head Elder for betraying the Sky Shadow Territory and attacking me, Unparalleled Sky Shadow. Finally, Unparalleled Sky Shadow left behind a sentence and crushed his identity plate. This was something that Night Sorrow couldn't stop. But after Unparalleled Sky Shadow left, Night Sorrow discovered more than 40 floating identity plates in the void. Clan M. Chapter 2940. These identity tags are equivalent to all the people in some powerful territories. It's a good harvest. Together with the ones we got before, it's enough to guarantee the success of the realm of the gods. After Night Sorrow collected the identity tags, he looked at everyone and said, This is the capital for the advancement of the realm of the gods. I'll put it together with the ones I got a few days ago as the capital for the advancement of the realm of the gods. If there's an accident, I'll keep these until the end. Let us advance successfully. Everyone in the realm of the gods had thrown away all their identity tags. They definitely couldn't get them back. Night Sorrow was afraid that everyone would be wiped out, so he kept all these tags. Now that our strength has increased to this level, it shouldn't be that bad, right? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian smiled and said, in his opinion, with the realm of the gods' strength, they could at least get into the top 100 of the second round. With such strength, It shouldn't be too much of a problem for them to survive until the end of the second round. However, when he thought about the fact that they had thrown away their identity tags, he still felt a little awkward and felt that there was no way out. It's better to be safe than sorry. Not only do I need to keep some identity tags with me, but I also need to keep some of them with me. You guys also need to keep some with you. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then he looked at everyone and said, I need to continue cultivating. You guys can officially start the battle. Now that Tianning Shuang has left, everyone can rest assured. Good. We won't let you down. Tianning Shuang was very happy that Night Sorrow had driven Tianning Shuang out of the Battle of Providence. He smiled and made a promise. As for the other territories, they were preparing to snatch more identity tokens. There was no territory that did not want to appear and advance to the finals. They didn't have many people left, but if they could advance and get some good results, the rewards would be very generous. Especially Blueheart. She was the only one left in the Azure territory. If she could still advance, she would definitely be rewarded. I'm not worried about you guys, Night Sorrow said. Then he set up a new formation and began to absorb the Sovereign's law and essence. The duration of this cultivation session was much longer than Yi Shang had expected. Originally, he only wanted to cultivate for 2 years and reach the peak of the Divine King's level. However, after he reached a certain level, he realized that the Sea Serpent's Eye hadn't advanced, so he let the Sea Serpent's Eye absorb the essence. By the time the Sea Serpent's Eye was upgraded, 70 years had passed for Night Sorrow. At this time, there were still more than 20 years before the end of the second round of the Battle of Providence. Phew. It's time to go out. I wonder how everyone is doing after fighting for so many years. During the 70 years of cultivation, no one had come to challenge Night Sorrow. This proved that the realm of the gods had never encountered an opponent they couldn't defeat. Therefore, he was still very relaxed. When Xiaochen left the cultivation formation, he saw the heaven's shadow still moving slowly in the void. Most of them were on the deck. He smiled and said, Long time no see, everyone. Night Sorrow. You've finally finished cultivating. Xiao Tianxian, who was originally discussing matters with everyone, was pleasantly surprised when he saw Night Sorrow appear. The master of the Wanjian sect was also surprised. You're finally awake. Everyone missed you. Why is everyone's expression a bit strange? When Night Sorrow woke up, everyone was definitely happy. However, including the master of the Wanjian sect, even their smiles were a bit unnatural. This made him a bit worried. AI. A few days ago, Jin Xian was captured by the Evil Sky territory. They want us to gather 100 identity tokens in 20 years to exchange for Jin Xian. Xiao Tianxian said with a sigh. Everyone had fought under the banner of the Heaven's Shadow territory for 70 years, and had accumulated over 200 identity tokens. This number was definitely not small. They were willing to use 100 to exchange for Jin Xian's freedom. But everyone, including Xiao Tianxian, felt that there was something fishy about this matter. They didn't understand why the people of the Evil Sky territory would use Jin Xian to exchange for over 100 identity tokens. After all, to the outside world, the realm of the gods had already submitted to the Heaven's Shadow territory. No matter what, let's exchange for Jin Xian first. We can get more identity tokens if we don't have them, but Jin Xian only has one life. Not to mention Jin Xian himself. Just for the Supreme Golden Crow, we have to save him. Night Sorrow said this and then asked, How many identity tokens do we have? I'll use them to exchange for Jin Xian. We have a total of 287 identity tokens. Xiao Tianxian said this and then took out 100 tokens to give to Night Sorrow. You're right, we have to exchange people. But we have to be wary of the people of the Evil Sky territory. Tell me about the characteristics of the cultivators of the Evil Sky territory. Also tell me about their strength. Night Sorrow looked at Xiao Tianxian and the others. If anyone has anything to add, you can speak at any time. Alright. Xiao Tianxian replied and then said, The Evil Sky territory, to put it bluntly, is the Evil Sky demon territory. Those people all cultivate the path of slaughter and destruction, so they are very bloodthirsty. Including the other territories, there are a total of around 100 cultivators. Around 40 of them are the rulers of the evil sky territory. Then we fought with them and Jin Xian was caught because of that. Night Sorrow asked in a doubtful voice. He looked around and found that only Jin Xian was missing from the Divine World territory. As for the other territories, although they were missing a few people, the main characters were still there and their auras were all intact. It didn't seem like they had been through a battle recently. It's like this. A few days ago, we landed on a star and there were no traces of cultivators on it. But we did find an eternal god crystal spirit vein. Jin Xian led the other 4 rulers to gather it. Then they were caught by the people of the evil sky territory. It's all my fault for being impatient. If everyone had stayed and gathered the spirit vein before continuing the battle, it would have been better, Xiao Tianxian explained. Speaking of this matter, he blamed himself very much. Since this matter has already happened, then let's not blame ourselves. Let's think about how to solve this matter. Do we have an agreement with the other side to exchange places? Night Sorrow asked in a deep voice. Not yet, Xiao Tianxian replied before continuing. But I think that the evil sky territory won't let us choose the location. We have to change people and we have to choose the location. If we go to the place they decide on, it will be the same as walking into a trap. Night Sorrow made this judgment and then said, how do we contact the other side? This matter, I'll discuss it. But everyone, immediately prepare for battle. The other side has an envoy on the star we're on. The 10,000 Sword sect replied to Night Sorrow, before bringing the envoy from the evil sky territory over. Genius remembered this address in a second. Human mobile reading website. Chapter 2941. I say, you people, have you finished your research yet? Are you going to exchange or not? The envoy from the evil sky territory was not one of the sinners from the other territories. Rather, he was a true evil heavenly demon. Being brought to the deck of the heaven's shadow, he looked at everyone with disdain. Exchange, of course we'll exchange. We will be in the void, waiting for you to exchange. Without waiting for the others to speak, Night Sorrow spoke with knit brows. At the same time, he opened the clam dragon's eye to observe the other side. Observing like this, Night Sorrow was surprised to find that this evil heavenly demon's aura was very similar to the other heavenly demons. He guessed that this evil heavenly demon was related to the other heavenly demons. But in this aspect, Night Sorrow did not think too much about it. What surprised him even more was that this evil heavenly demon was clearly very strong. At least he was stronger than the current 10,000 Sword sect. Even if the evil heavenly demon territory was strong, it was impossible for everyone to be this strong. If you want to exchange, then exchange on the planet with the eternal god crystal vein. The envoy from the evil sky territory said in an unquestionable voice. We don't kill envoys when fighting, so I'll let you go. Don't think that I can't see what kind of strength you have. Night Sorrow looked at the other side and said this before continuing. If you want to obtain 100 identity tokens without spilling a drop of blood, then exchange here. You have some eyes, you're not the normal divine king. The envoy from the evil sky territory revealed an evil charming smile. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, it's fine here, but the number of identity tokens has to be increased to 150. We've already heard from the other cultivators that you are in charge of the divine realm. These 150 identity tokens are not just for Golden Xian, but also to keep their mouths shut. I think that your divine realm will not want the other powerful territories to know your strength, right? Alright. I'll agree. As soon as the evil heavenly demon finished speaking, Night Sorrow agreed. After the evil heavenly demon left, the 10,000 Sword sect asked in a doubtful voice. In my opinion, they would definitely exchange 50 for Golden Xian. There's no need to take out 150. That's right. I also feel that 150 is too much. Xinghe from the Star Source territory said in a deep voice. 150 identity tags were probably enough to enter the top 200 in the second round. Tianyu added. I shouldn't say that. But 150 identity nameplates are indeed too much. We'll give them as much as they want. Then he would use his strength to take it back. So whether it's 100 or 150, it's just a number. At this moment, Yishang spoke in a resounding voice. He looked at everyone and said firmly, "The exchange of people is complete. Let's attack them immediately." But there are more than 100 of them, and they're fighting in the sky. It shouldn't be convenient for them to set up a formation, right? Without the help of the formation, we might not be their match. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xiao Tianxian frowned and said, there were around 100 people in Xie Tian's territory. In their current Divine Realm territory, adding in the other forces under them, they only had around 40-50 people. The difference in numbers was a bit large. Yes, in the void, we are hardly a match for evil sky fiends. Rashly fighting isn't a wise move. Tianning continued to persuade. In his opinion, evil sky fiends were not easy to deal with. Adding in the fact that the other side had around 50 more sovereigns, there was a large difference in strength between the two sides. If it was any other territory, I wouldn't have the confidence to defeat them. But against evil sky fiends, I have absolute confidence. Everyone, believe me and prepare for battle. Moreover, this time we'll use our half-step supreme divine weapons. We'll fight without holding back. A deep smile appeared on Yishang's face as he looked up at the void. His power of virtue was the absolute nemesis of the sky fiends. As long as they fought, he was confident that he could quickly defeat the main characters of the other side. Alright. Fight. We'll fight to our heart's content. Seeing that Night Sorrow had made up his mind, Xiao Tianxian didn't try to persuade him anymore. Tianning, Xing He, and the others also didn't say anything. They were worried at first, but thinking of Night Sorrow's past achievements, they didn't say anything. They knew that he must have something to rely on. At this time Night Sorrow asked, Brother Wan, in the dozens of years that I've been away, did you teach Tianning and the others the joint attack technique? Without your instructions, of course we wouldn't teach it. But in these dozens of years of battles, everyone would run away when they encountered experts. We only fought with some small territories, and there weren't many casualties. Myriad Sword Sect replied. In the years that Night Sorrow wasn't around, their battles were quite conservative. If there was even the slightest movement, they would run away. It's good to be cautious. I'm very happy to see that all of you are fine. Night Sorrow looked at Murong Ziliu, Yuan Fengxue, and the others and continued. Now teach everyone the joint attack technique without holding back. I'll go and refine some deity talismans. After saying that, Night Sorrow returned to his seclusion array and started refining merit deity talismans. The power of virtue was the nemesis of evil sky fiends. To them, these merit deity talismans were much stronger than ordinary sovereign's deity talismans. From start to finish, Night Sorrow had refined a total of 50 merit deity talismans. After distributing one to everyone, Night Sorrow kept the remaining ones, preparing to use them in battle. About half a month later, 3 extremely large battleships sailed from the dark void towards Night Sorrow and the others. When Night Sorrow saw these battleships, he led the others to board the Sky Shadow and rushed towards them. Night Sorrow knew that if the location was set on a planet, the other party would definitely not come. But if it was set in the void, it would be a different story. Where are they? When the two sides got closer, Night Sorrow immediately looked in the direction of the enemy's main battleship and asked without hesitation. Of course we brought them. What about the 200 identity badges? After Night Sorrow spoke, the leader of the evil Skyfiends, Xie Kong, immediately asked. At the same time, Jin Xian and the other cultivators were all brought to the deck of the main battleship. F***CK. You guys are too much. We agreed on 100, then we negotiated it to 150. Why are you asking for 200 now? Hearing Xie Kong's words, the hot-tempered master of the Myriad Sword Sect immediately questioned. Because I want this number. The leader of the evil Skyfiends, Xie Kong, said coldly. Then he said arrogantly. And because you don't have the right to negotiate with us face to face. If you don't agree, I'll kill all of you immediately. Good. Very good. You're right. I'll give you 200 identity badges. When the leader of the evil Skyfiends finished speaking, master of the Myriad Sword Sect, and the others were completely enraged. But Night Sorrow only smiled. He handed over 200 identity badges and said, We'll give you the identity badges. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version website, M. Chapter 2942. You're very cooperative. You're someone who can achieve great things. Xiekong, the leader of the evil heavenly demons, laughed. If you choose not to cooperate, all of you will die today. I'm very satisfied that I got 200 identity tags without any bloodshed. I'll spare you all. Thank you for taking care of us, Leader Xiekong, Night Sorrow said with a fake smile. Then let's start the deal. All right. Bring those cultivators to me. Xiekong ordered his men to bring Jin Xian and the rest to his side. He smiled at Jin Xian. You should be proud that you're worth 200 identity tags. Brother Yi, I'm not worth 200 identity tags. Don't pay such a price for me. We've been fighting for so many years, and we've only accumulated 200 of them. If you use them to exchange for me, Jin Xian will die of depression. Jin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect Xiekong to use him to extort 200 identity tags. Moreover, Night Sorrow had decided to give it to him. He knew very well that they had only obtained 200 identity tags in 70 years of fighting. Taking out 200 identity tags at once was equivalent to emptying the realm of the gods' capital. This way, the realm of the gods' hopes of getting a good ranking would be destroyed. We can still get more identity tags even if we lose them. But a brother only has one life. Jin Xian, you don't have to say any more. Not one of us can be left behind. Yi Shang said as he tossed the interspatial bag with the identity tag into the air. Hee, at least you know what's good for you. These 200 identity tags are not only to save him, but also to save yourselves. The leader of the evil heavenly demons, Xiekong, laughed evilly. His laughter was very arrogant and unbridled. Jin Xian could not help but sigh when he heard Xiekong's laughter. He felt that he had caused the realm of the gods to lose too much. The other cultivators who had also been rescued had expressions of relief on their faces. However, at this time, Stone Mountain walked out and looked at one of the rulers of the Stone Mountain territory. Who told Jin Xian about the realm of the gods? This. Chief, we were forced to do this. The ruler of the Cliff Peak territory immediately replied timidly when he heard Stone Mountain's question. Because he had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao, he could not lie in front of Rocky Mountain in the second round of the battle for Providence. Although my Cliff Peak territory is weak, we don't have spineless people. Hearing this, Cliff Mountain coldly snorted and directly killed the cultivator from the Cliff Peak territory. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This kind of thing will not happen a second time." Yes. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say much, but in his heart he was quite satisfied with Rocky Mountain's decisiveness. With Stone Mountain at the front, Underworld Monarch and Xing Yuan also took action, and killed the two cultivators who betrayed Jin Xian and the God Realm. It doesn't matter how we formed the alliance. Right now, we are all friends who share our lives. Don't let this happen again. Remember, my territory in the divine world needs to be embroidered in embroidered robes at night. We can't obtain good results on the surface. Therefore, in the end, the ones who will obtain good rankings are your territories. Night Sorrow sent a message to everyone in the territories and coldly said, "Prepare for battle. Destroy the evil heavenly demon territory. Take back what belongs to us. Kill." After Night Sorrow gave the order, everyone in the divine world territory roared out. That kind of excited roar made Jin Xian's body suddenly tremble. He immediately reacted. What Night Sorrow wanted to do, he felt all the hair on his body stand up and roared. Kill. What? My Xietian territory let you trash go. You actually want to take the initiative to attack? Hearing the divine world territories people shouting the word kill, the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xiekong's face suddenly became gloomy. Originally, he didn't have to fight to subdue the enemy troops, which made him feel very satisfied. Not only will we attack, we will also completely wipe you out. If you want to blame yourself for being too greedy. Night Sorrow took out the half-step supreme artifact golden heavenly halberd from the space grotto heaven, and suddenly smashed it in the void. With a bang, a huge ripple was created. Then he roared, "Kill. Leave Xiekong to me. Since you want to die, then this leader will help you. Warriors of the Xietian territory, kill with me. Kill them all. The leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xie Kong, was instantly enraged. He pointed the scepter in his hand at the Divine World Territory's people and roared out his order. Kill. The evil heavenly demon territory's cultivators and their slaves, hearing Xie Kong's order, immediately roared out and turned into flowing lights in the void, killing the cultivators of the Divine World Territory. Everyone, go all out, don't hold back. This is the first test for my Divine World Territory. Kill. Night Sorrow roared out and turned into the fastest flowing light, killing the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory's people. Half-step supreme artifact, and its grade is very high. Good, very good. This chief will personally snatch it away. Seeing the half-step supreme artifact golden heavenly halberd in Night Sorrow's hands, the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xie Kong, revealed a smile. The scepter in his hand was obviously of a higher grade than the golden heavenly halberd, and Night Sorrow's cultivation was at the peak of the Divine King's cultivation. He had not reached the sovereign realm, so he felt that it was like a child wielding a treasure sword. It was impossible for him to kill a middle-aged man like him. If you want to take my golden heavenly halberd, then let's see if you have the strength to do so. Originally, Night Sorrow could have formed a joint attack with the Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian, but he felt that the two territories had to fight. The leaders had to fight each other, and this was a symbolic event. With a roar, he released his virtuous energy, forming a golden virtuous divine domain around him. What? Virtuous energy. Seeing the virtuous energy, Xie Kong's face changed immediately. However, the shock in his eyes disappeared in a flash, and he did not hesitate to attack with his scepter. A thick dark green light was immediately shot out from the scepter, and it suddenly blasted towards Night Sorrow. Reincarnation Spear. Facing this attack, Night Sorrow did not panic at all. He raised his hand and attacked with the golden heavenly halberd. The golden light shot out from the golden heavenly halberd immediately collided with the dark green light in the void. After the two types of light clashed for a while, the golden light suddenly became stronger and suppressed the dark green light. It suddenly blasted towards Xie Kong. Xietian Doppelganger Technique. Facing the oppressive golden light, Xie Kong silently chanted, and 9 figures appeared. He used one of the figures to block the golden light. The other 8 doppelgangers all prepared to attack. 2 of them are the real body. The other 7 are doppelgangers. Night Sorrow immediately activated the Sea Serpent's Eye and observed for a while. He realized that the Xie Kong that blocked the attack was the real one. And among his doppelgangers, there was one real body. This proved that he had 2 real bodies. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2943. If my avatar came to the eternal supreme world, it would be the same. Thinking of his avatar and his family in the divine world, Night Sorrow felt a bit emotional, but he instantly recovered. Taking out the ruler divine weapon from his spatial artifact, one ruler divine weapon, and the other half supreme divine weapon, he used the Yang clan's heaven-splitting art on his 2 avatars. The 2 divine weapons were pierced through and turned into 2 golden lights. These 2 golden lights, although they were much thinner than the previous ones, they were much stronger. I never thought that a divine king like you would not only be able to release this kind of attack, you could even see through my avatar. Xie Kong of the evil heavenly demon territory saw that Night Sorrow was actually attacking his 2 avatars. He instantly understood that Night Sorrow had already seen through his avatar. His true body and avatar both took out their divine weapons and attacked to block Night Sorrow's attack. With his counterattack, the 2 of them were in a stalemate. At the same time, the Divine World people with the Merit God Talisman exploded with battle strength that was much stronger than the Xietian territory people imagined. Many times, when the Xietian territory cultivators were about to kill the Divine World people, the Divine World people would throw out the Merit God Talisman to heavily injure them. As for the cultivators enslaved by the Xietian territory, they didn't put in any effort. Most of them just wanted to protect themselves. As for the Divine World side, the 10,000 Sword Sect was an unsolvable problem for the Xietian territory. Charging left and right, fighting to this point, They had already killed 3 rulers. As for Xiao Tianxian, he wasn't any weaker, also killing 3 rulers. Although the 2 of them didn't have Night Sorrow's cooperation, they could still take care of each other, so their battle strength was very strong. After fighting for around 2 hours, the Xietian territory had lost over 30 rulers. As for the Divine World side, there were 5-6 people who had crushed their identity tokens and not a single one of them had been killed. This was all thanks to Night Sorrow's Merit God Talisman. Leader, if this continues, we might not be a match. What should we do now? Fight or retreat? The situation wasn't looking good. A ruler of the Xietian territory sent a sound transmission to Xie Kong, asking for his opinion. Bastard! How could my Xietian territory be defeated by this kind of trash territory? Fight! Don't retreat! Xie Kong, who had been battling Night Sorrow to the climax, replied unhappily when he heard that his subordinates wanted to retreat. At the same time, he fused his true body and clone together, and ignited his bloodline power. He suddenly roared, "Supreme Evil Sky Slash!" The scepter in his hand immediately produced a thick blade aura that slashed towards Night Sorrow. It illuminated the already brightly lit void, making it seem as if it was daytime. 33 heavens! Facing Xie Kong's desperate attack, Night Sorrow didn't dare to be careless. He immediately activated his secret battle technique and raised his strength to the peak. Then he directly used the Merit Trap Array on Xie Kong. Together with the Gentle Dragon Roar and the Reincarnation Spear Art, Xie Kong's attack was very powerful, and it broke the Virtuous Trap Array. However, Night Sorrow had already successfully dodged it. Furthermore, after the Gentle Dragon Roar and the Reincarnation Spear technique were used, he immediately held the Golden Heavenly Halberd and approached Xie Kong to engage in close combat. Boom! Evil Sky's Supreme Slash, which Yi Shang had dodged, left a long tail in the air before exploding. It was obvious that this attack was very powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that the void was big enough and they were far away from each other, the others might have been affected. Your strongest attack didn't work, so you're doomed. Night Sorrow condensed his power of merit and formed a protective divine territory again as he engaged in close combat with Xie Kong. Xie Kong, who was originally not inferior to Night Sorrow in close combat, found it very difficult to resist the power of merit. Night Sorrow, who had been fighting with him for so long and had only fully unleashed his power of merit, had a terrifying aura after completely exploding. You can defeat me, but I can easily leave. If I remember correctly, your territory in the realm of the gods was the territory that was destroyed by many strong people. When I get out, I'll tell everyone about your rise. Let's see if those territories will let you go. Xie Kong had a sinister look on his face. While fighting with Night Sorrow, he had already begun to think of a way out. After fighting for a while, he began to call for help to fight against Night Sorrow. Although they had lost some juggernauts, they still had the upper hand in terms of numbers. Self-destruct. Self-destruct and kill him. After gathering 4 cultivators from other territories, Xie Kong immediately ordered 2 of them to self-destruct. He wanted to use this to fight against Night Sorrow. You want to use self-destruct to deal with me? Not so easy. Night Sorrow, who had seen through Xie Kong's intentions, laughed coldly and used the Void Dragon movement technique to hide. He also set up a virtuous trap array. He easily dodged the self-destruct power of 2 juggernauts. Bastard! This can't even hurt him. How can there be such a troublesome divine king? Seeing that Night Sorrow easily dodged the self-destruct power of 2 juggernauts, he muttered in his heart. At the same time, he looked at the 2 juggernauts beside him and said, "Lend me a hand. Let's kill him together." "Yes, Sir Xie Kong." The 2 juggernauts beside him were not from Xietian's territory, but they had already sworn a heavenly oath. After receiving the order, they immediately joined him and began to fight against Night Sorrow. 3 against 1? Do you really think there's no one in my God Realm territory? On the other side, seeing the 3 people from Xietian's territory fighting against Night Sorrow himself, the 10,000 Sword sect immediately rushed over. Also rushing over was Xiao Tianxian, who had just taken care of an opponent. He looked at Xie Kong and said, "Die. You want this one to die? It's not that easy." Xie Kong was very unhappy that the 10,000 Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian had come over to help, but he was very stubborn and would not give in. Whether it's easy or not, you'll understand soon enough. Night Sorrow knew that with the 10,000 Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian coming over to help, the other people in the God Realm territory would have a hard time fighting. With a roar, he sent a voice transmission to the two of them. Let's fight. All right. The 10,000 Sword Sect replied and used the Great Immortal Sword technique. It turned into a giant sword and slashed out at one of the cultivators. Xiao Tianxian attacked the other cultivator beside Xie Kong. The two of them did not have any plans to use a joint attack, so Night Sorrow continued to fight against Xie Kong. You can defeat me, but you can't kill me. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Xie Kong fought with Night Sorrow for a while, but after finding that he could not win, he gave up on the idea of fighting. He took out his identity token and crushed it, wanting to leave the ancient battlefield of the second round. Wanting to leave, is it really as easy as you think? Yi Shang said coldly as he faced Xie Kong, who was trying to escape. In that instant, Xie Kong's body trembled as he loudly shouted, "Impossible, this is impossible." Clan M. Chapter 2944. Impossible what? What's impossible? I've said it before, it's not that easy to escape. Looking at the shocked Xie Kong, Night Sorrow coldly said. When Xie Kong took out the identity token, he had used the divine weapon he borrowed from the 10,000 Sword Sect to temporarily stop time. He had successfully snatched the identity token from Xie Kong's hands. Xie Kong's face was filled with disbelief. This divine weapon, it really is a good thing. What brother one has, I definitely can't take. But I can study it and then refine one myself. Playing with the divine weapon in his hand, Night Sorrow looked at Xie Kong again and said, "Die." Suddenly, he activated the virtuous trapping formation again, trapping Xie Kong within it. When Night Sorrow appeared again, Xie Kong had disappeared and was replaced by a large amount of identity tokens. The 200 from the God Realm, and the 357 from the Xietian territory. The Xietian territory had more identity tokens than the God Realm. This made Night Sorrow a bit surprised. With these 357 identity tokens, Night Sorrow was clear that among them, at least one of them could enter the top 20. As for the top 10, it wasn't safe. As for the God Realm, it wasn't a problem for them to appear. While Night Sorrow was thinking, the battle between the two sides continued. But most of the cultivators in the Xietian territory found a chance to crush their identity tokens. In the end, the God Realm had won. The people in the Xietian territory, if they didn't escape, they would be killed. There was no other result. Good. I never thought that defeating the Xietian territory would give us 400 identity tokens. This is more than 70 years of fighting. After the battle ended, the 10,000 Sword Sect took everything while sighing with emotion. Suddenly obtaining so many identity tokens, he felt very good. The most important thing was that not a single person from the God Realm had died. Although Xuechang Tian, Niechang Lin, and Jin Xian were all heavily injured, they could recover with pills. I feel that as the battle for destiny progresses, there will be less and less small territories. Replacing them will be all kinds of giants. I think that from now on, every battle won't be simple. Night Sorrow looked at Sky Shadow and said, I will hand over all the identity tokens I obtained today to the Sky Shadow territory. However, you should be clear about the rules. The rewards obtained will belong to our divine realm. Don't worry, I know about this. Although Tianning Yu knew that all the rewards would be given to the God Realm, he was still very happy. After all, unparalleled Heavenly Shadow had already been eliminated, and the Heavenly Shadow territory could only rely on him. As long as one's ranking was good, regardless of whether or not they could obtain rewards, the Heavenly Shadow territory would give them the best resources. The other territories don't have to be envious. I will strive to make every territory here enter the top 100 of the second round. Any higher, and it doesn't match your strength. Night Sorrow knew that if he directly handed over all the identity tokens he had obtained today to the Sky Shadow territory, the other territories that had also participated in the battle would definitely have objections. Thus he added, Haha, When Brother Yi said this, we felt very warm inside. If we can really get into the top 100 for the Cliff Territory, Cliff Mountain will have a bright future. Cliff Mountain from the Cliff Territory said excitedly when he heard Night Sorrow's words. When he participated in the second round of the battle, he did not even prepare to advance to the finals. He did not expect that he would get such a good opportunity after joining the God Realm. Ming Jun, Blue Heart, Xing He, and the others were also very satisfied with Night Sorrow's words. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Tianning. The Sky Shadow Territory must at least get into the top 10. The higher the better. Thank you, Brother Yi. Tianning said gratefully. Everyone, clean up the battlefield. Whoever kills the opponent will get the resources. The people of the God Realm will not snatch them. Night Sorrow said and asked everyone to clean up the battlefield. After that, Night Sorrow gathered everyone together and had a meeting. Then he began to cultivate again. His goal was to break through to the sovereign realm. Therefore, he had to make full use of the time to cultivate. After Night Sorrow entered the state of cultivation, the others continued to fight under the leadership of Xiao Tianxian and Wan Jianzong. After 15 years of continuous fighting, they obtained more than 100 identity tags. At this time, it was very close to the end of the 100-year period. Many territories had disappeared and the battle could end at any time. Xiao Tianxian distributed the identity badges he had obtained to the people of the various territories and said, "In case the competition ends abruptly, distribute the badges now. When we get more badges in the future, we will distribute them accordingly." Okay. Thank you very much. The people from the other territories also received their tokens one after another. Furthermore, they had more tokens than the people from the firmament world. On the other hand, Yishang's cultivation continued until the end of the second round. They did not encounter the other team from the celestial realm. In the end, the God Realm was ranked 977 and successfully advanced to the finals. With the help of the God Realm, the Sky Shadow Territory was ranked third in the second round and received a lot of rewards. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this result. As for the other territories, they all entered the top 100 as he said. Blue Heart was the only one left. When she counted the nameplates, she purposely gave up a few. In the end, she was ranked 257th. She felt that this result was enough to ensure her position in the territory. Therefore, she did not choose to enter the top 100 in a high-profile manner. Night Sorrow, who wanted to be rewarded, did not argue with her about this matter. After receiving the rewards, Night Sorrow and the other people of the God Realm returned to the God Realm in a good mood. After the second round of providence, the providence of the God Realm had become much richer. The providence of the God Realm has increased. It should be because everyone has obtained a good ranking, right? The moment everyone came out of the teleportation array, the Golden Crow, who had not left the city gate for many years, immediately rushed over. Grandson greets grandfather. When Jin Xian saw the Golden Crow, he knelt on the ground and called out, "Grandfather, we have successfully advanced to the final round of the Battle of Providence. We are ranked in the 900s and deliberately hid our strength." Then Jin Xian told the Golden Crow about Night Sorrow's actions. Hearing this, the Golden Crow looked at Night Sorrow with a smile and said, "Advance and retreat freely. Our God Realm territory is prosperous." However, after praising him, the Golden Crow reminded with a serious expression, "However, in the final battle for Providence, we will encounter the most powerful territories. We will definitely be targeted maliciously. Everyone must protect their own safety. You are the future of the God Realm territory. The territory can be destroyed, but you can't have any problems. Do you understand? Don't worry, Lord Supreme. Night Sorrow will not let the enemy laugh and his own people cry." Hearing the Golden Crow's words, Night Sorrow immediately replied with a frown. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 2945. Hehe. Night Sorrow. All of us Supremes are not worried about you. However, you must be careful in the finals. It's best if you use the next 20 years to improve your strength. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to enter the top 1,000. After saying this, the Golden Crow Supremacy sighed. After all, we have too few sovereigns. Don't worry, Lord Supreme. We will think of a way to make up for the disadvantage in numbers. Let the realm of gods stand at the top of the eternal supreme world again. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at the people of the realm of gods and said, Everyone, I'm going to return to the City Lord Mansion to cultivate. What about you? I'm going back to cultivate too, Myriad Sword Master said immediately. Although he could not break through any realm quickly, he could still absorb some laws and essence and study some new techniques. As for Xiao Tianxian and the others, as well as Jin Xian and the others, they all chose to cultivate in seclusion. Especially Morong Guiding Path, Jin Xian and the others, they were all looking forward to breaking through some realms in the next 20 years. Here are the rewards. You all can distribute them. Night Sorrow will take his leave first. We will gather again in 20 years. Night Sorrow said and left. After returning to the realm of gods, he immediately went to find Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. This time, the two finally came out of seclusion, and their strength had advanced to the level of an upper divine king. Standing in the sovereign base, Night Sorrow saw Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei and asked in surprise, How did you break through 2 realms consecutively? When Night Sorrow participated in the battle for Providence, the two were only lower divine kings. Now they were upper divine kings. This kind of breakthrough speed was almost catching up with Night Sorrow, who had absorbed a lot of laws and essence. The speed was not just fast, it was heaven-defying. I relied on the power of the bloodline to cultivate. I didn't absorb too many resources. As for Sister Fei, I don't know. Jing Yun said truthfully. After she received the inheritance of the ancestral phoenix, her cultivation speed increased a lot. Naturally, she could improve her strength quickly. This change had occurred ever since he had arrived in the eternal supreme realm. Wu Lingfei also nodded and said, I think so too. And according to my estimation, I should be able to break through to the Divine King level very soon. Then I'll provide you with some resources. Try and see if you can break through to the Divine King level within 20 years. If you can break through and become strong enough, I'll take you to the next battle for Providence. Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei's bloodline talent was very high, and it was very likely that they had the ability to fight across realms. At present, there were simply too few juggernauts in the divine world. Night Sorrow felt that if the two of them could advance to the upper divine king level, they might be able to join the others in battle. Although there were dangers, there were also fortuitous encounters. Good. Sister Fei will work hard. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. The way she addressed her as Sister Fei was obviously very natural. Night Sorrow was a little embarrassed, but he did not show it. He said, Then Sister Fei, you and Jing Yun should work hard together. I'm going back to cultivate in seclusion. Good. Go, don't worry about us. The genius base also has space. Wu Lingfei said, then looked at Jing Yun and said, Sister, let's go back and continue cultivating. I can feel that the laws and resources that Night Sorrow provided are at least enough for us to advance to the upper Divine King level. If that's the case, I'm confident that I can defeat ordinary juggernauts. I'm also confident that I can defeat juggernauts. Jing Yun nodded. As her cultivation progressed, she felt that her innate bloodline was also evolving, making her abnormally powerful. After saying this, Jing Yun looked at Night Sorrow and said, Husband, how many years will the next battle for Providence be held? About 20 years later, but it's best to come out of seclusion a little earlier. Night Sorrow replied softly. If not for the fact that there were too few people in the divine world, he really did not want to let Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei take the risk. However, the current situation was that everyone was responsible for the rise and fall of the divine world. They could only do their best to nurture experts. Okay, husband. We will come out in time. At that time, whether it works or not, we will know when we find a juggernaut to try. Jing Yun looked at Night Sorrow and said, Husband, you have to take care of yourself. Don't worry too much about the pressure. Although the divine world territory is important, you are the most important. Don't worry, I will take care of myself. Next, I will return to the City Lord Mansion to cultivate. If you come out of seclusion, send me a message. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he left behind a voice transmission stone and returned to the City Lord Mansion alone. At this time, there were many Supremes in the City Lord Mansion, and their expressions were not too good. However, when they saw Night Sorrow return, they all asked expectantly and listened to Night Sorrow explain the matter. White Tiger Supremacy said with a smile, "Looks like some people attacking in the Supreme Space has something to do with our performance in the battle for Providence." Supremacy, what happened? Night Sorrow looked at White Tiger Supremacy in puzzlement. It's like this. Recently, when we go to the Supreme Space, we often encounter obstructions. There's no way to go there normally. White Tiger Supremacy looked at Night Sorrow and sighed. If we can't go to the Supreme Space, we can't find resources for you. We support the battle for Providence. Sigh. The second round of the battle for Providence has just ended, and they have already made a move. Or have they already noticed us when the first round ended? Hearing White Tiger Supremacy's words, Night Sorrow thought for a moment, and felt that the impact of the second round should not have come yet. At this time, Ancestral Phoenix said, "It should be in the first round that some territories couldn't hold back and started to deal with us. As for the second round, there was also some impact. A few decades after the second round began, the Supremes of other territories began to go crazy. Like crazy demons, they targeted our Divine World territory, making it impossible for us to enter the Supreme Space." Speaking of this, Ancestral Phoenix sighed and said, "I'm not sure how the two Deputy City Lords are doing now. Don't worry, Supremes. We have confidence in the battle for Providence. In terms of resources, you can also rest assured. We will solve this problem ourselves. Night Sorrow still needs to improve his strength, so he will go into seclusion. Pay attention to your own safety. If you can't go to the Supreme Space, then don't go for the time being." Night Sorrow felt that as long as the Supremes didn't go to the Supreme Space, there shouldn't be any danger for the time being, so he began to cultivate. He knew that being angry was useless. Only by increasing his strength as soon as possible could he solve the humiliation in front of him. The Divine World territory was being targeted, and they couldn't even go to the Supreme Space. This was definitely a great humiliation. Night Sorrow was prepared to completely explode in the battle for Providence and win back this face for the Divine World. Clan M. Chapter 2946. After being bullied to this extent, if they didn't explode, the people of the Divine World would never be able to go to the public area or the Supreme Space. If they wanted to explode, they had to quickly become stronger. Becoming stronger required time. Therefore, they had to obtain a good ranking in the battle for Providence. They had to improve the providence of the Divine World to support the existence of the Divine World for a longer period of time. After entering the triple time acceleration, Night Sorrow immediately began to absorb the Invincible Sovereign's laws and essence. In fact, after absorbing so many Sovereign's laws and essence, Night Sorrow already understood that he was already saturated with these things. Now was the process of a qualitative change. He would use the Invincible Sovereign's laws and essence to replace all that he had absorbed before. Then he would break through to the Sovereign Realm. In about 20 years, Night Sorrow had completed all of this. At this moment he discovered a problem. If he wanted to break through to the Sovereign Realm, he needed to absorb the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. If he only used the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence to break through to the Sovereign Realm, the overall increase in strength wouldn't be as great as expected. Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence, how do I obtain these things? Night Sorrow completely raised his strength to the peak of the Divine King's level, and left the cultivation room. He needed the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. He wanted to ask the Supremes how to obtain these things. When Night Sorrow came out of seclusion, the Supremes were still in the City Lord Manor. After all, they couldn't go to the Supreme Space, so they could only discuss countermeasures here. Night Sorrow, you're out of seclusion? It seems that your strength has improved quite well. I can clearly feel the changes in you. Seeing Night Sorrow arrive, Supreme Phoenix sized him up and said with a smile, "My strength has improved, but I also encountered a bottleneck," Night Sorrow said. Hearing this, Supreme Black Tortoise immediately asked, What bottleneck did you encounter? If we can solve it, we will definitely help you. Replying to Supreme Black Tortoise, Knight Sorrow encountered a bottleneck because he lacked the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. If Knight Sorrow wants to break through to the sovereign level, he can do it now. However, without the supreme laws and essence, his strength will be greatly affected. Knight Sorrow said, then explained. If I make use of the Autarka's laws and essence to break through, Knight Sorrow is confident that once I become a ruler, I'll be able to fight against many rulers. He might even be able to sweep through the sovereigns. However, using the sovereign's law and sovereign's essence to break through will also increase my strength, but the increase will definitely be limited. Haha. So it's about this matter. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Black Tortoise Prime smiled and handed over a spatial bag. We've already predicted that you'll encounter a bottleneck. We've even prepared the sovereign's laws and essence. Take it and use it. The future of the heavenly realm depends on you. He had already prepared the Supreme Being's law and essence? Where did these come from? Hearing Black Tortoise Prime's words, Knight Sorrow was clearly surprised. The 9 Heavens Supremes fell silent after hearing Knight Sorrow's question. The smiles on their faces all turned into helplessness. What's wrong with everyone? Knight Sorrow asked with a trembling voice. He realized that things were not simple. Sigh. Everyone was silent for a long time before Supreme Ancestor Phoenix replied. These are the complete laws and essence left behind by the Horn Race's Supreme Ancestor. He predicted that you would use them one day. At this point, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's expression was very ugly, and he could not continue speaking. What? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow's head buzzed. Only now did he understand why the Horn Race's Supreme Ancestor would suddenly display the ancient scene for everyone. An important reason was that he wanted to leave his laws and essence to himself. Knight Sorrow, Supreme Ancestor Horn wants you to carry his wish and restore the glory of our God realm. Do you understand? If you do, don't reject his good intentions. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's relationship with the Horn Race was especially good. Supreme Ancestor Dragon immediately walked forward and patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder. Knight Sorrow knows. Knight Sorrow will carry the Horn Race's Supreme Ancestor's wish and stand at the highest point of the eternal supreme world. Otherwise, Knight Sorrow will fall forever. A man does not cry easily because he has not been sad. Although Knight Sorrow had been controlling himself, tears still flowed from the corners of his eyes. He swore with a trembling voice. Knight Sorrow, you are already very close to the finals of the battle for Providence. Hurry up and cultivate. If the supreme laws and essence are not enough, we still have a way. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, who had been silent for a while, suddenly looked at Knight Sorrow and said, Enough. No matter what, Knight Sorrow will break through to the ruler realm soon. Hearing Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's words, Knight Sorrow immediately understood what he meant. If the laws and essence left behind by the Horn Race's Supreme Ancestor were not enough, then the other Supremes were also willing to sacrifice themselves. How could he bear to see the Supremes die for him one by one? To die for the God realm. All right. All of us old people will protect you. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask us. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix added and told Knight Sorrow to hurry up and cultivate. At this moment, Silver Spear Paragon Yang Tiancheng walked in front of Knight Sorrow and said, Knight Sorrow, there's something I want to say. Supreme Ancestor, please speak. Knight Sorrow was still very respectful to Yang Tiancheng, who had guided him in his spear technique. At this moment, Yang Tiancheng nodded and said, If you want to reach the strongest spear technique, you still need to comprehend it yourself. Comprehend a new spear technique. Like me, learning the clan's spear technique can make you very strong, but in the end, you can't become the strongest. I hope that when you advance to the ruler realm, you can forget everything that others have taught you, or on the basis of it, you can comprehend the most suitable ultimate technique for yourself. Knight Sorrow will remember Supreme Ancestor's words. Although Yang Tiancheng's words were simple, Knight Sorrow knew that it wasn't easy to do. However, he wanted to lead the God realm to counterattack, so he immediately made up his mind. Go. All of us have high hopes for you. Moreover, at the critical moment, all of us can sacrifice ourselves for you. Yang Tianqing said and waved his hand, letting Night Sorrow go to cultivate. After Night Sorrow left, Yang Tianqing said, "This time, Night Sorrow is determined to fight for a good ranking for the God Realm. We should also do something." "What do you mean?" Supreme Ancestor Phoenix immediately asked. He knew that Yang Tianqing definitely had a hidden meaning in his words. "What I mean is that we should gather everyone's strength and completely advance Night Sorrow's divine weapon to a supreme artifact. Although those who participate in the battle for providence are not the top rulers, only those who have cultivated for less than 3 epochs. Those powerful territories will definitely put in a lot of effort to fight for first place. Using a supreme artifact will definitely be a must," Yang Tianqing said and then sighed. "This is all we can do." Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2947. Zai. That's right. That's all we can do. If the 2 deputy city lords were still here, the situation would definitely be better. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said helplessly. The current situation of the divine realm was so bad, and there was no one. If the 2 deputy city lords were here, they would definitely be of greater help to Night Sorrow. Then, Yang Tianqing appeared and took the golden heavenly halberd before Night Sorrow started cultivating. Many supremes could be said to have used the power of the divine realm to forge a supreme divine weapon for Night Sorrow. If it was in the past, Supreme Heavenly Treasure would not have the ability to forge a supreme divine weapon. But recently he had forged more than 10 half-step supreme divine weapons in a row, and his refining realm had obviously improved. He already had the possibility of forging a supreme divine weapon. If not for Night Sorrow finding a large number of supreme materials, I'm afraid even if everyone gathered these materials, I wouldn't be able to forge a supreme divine weapon. But now there's a certain amount of hope. Supreme Heavenly Treasure looked at the 5 sets of materials in front of him and said with emotion. Then he continued, "But if I really can't forge a supreme divine weapon, please forgive me. Supreme Heavenly Treasure, don't worry about it. It's the fortune of the divine realm to have you." The other supremes naturally wouldn't say anything. The resources of the divine realm were obviously insufficient, which also caused Supreme Heavenly Treasure to not have many opportunities to practice. Now that he had to find someone, he could only brace himself. Then, under the attention of the other supremes, Supreme Heavenly Treasure began to forge a supreme divine weapon. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, took out the laws and essence of the Horn Clan Supreme. He floated in the air. He knelt down and said, "Supreme Lord of the Horn Clan, Night Sorrow will not let your sacrifice be in vain. I will definitely lead the divine realm to restore its former glory. I believe you can do it. But with my ability, I can't calculate how far you can go. I can only help you so much." Suddenly, the phantom of the Horn Clan Supreme appeared and floated in the air. He looked at Night Sorrow and smiled. His smile was very kind, and he looked like an ordinary elder. "Lord Supreme." Seeing the Horn Clan Supreme being appear, Night Sorrow immediately shouted. He wanted to say something, but he choked on his words. Even the Divine King, Juggernaut, or Supreme Being would sometimes lose control of their emotions. Night Sorrow was one such example. There's no need for that. Cultivate in peace and don't disappoint everyone's expectations, the Supreme Being of the Horn Clan said with a smile. Then he continued, "It's about time. I'm also going to reincarnate. If fate allows it, we'll meet again. I look forward to that day. If we meet, I'll be able to recognize you immediately," Night Sorrow said, and then struck the Horn Clan's Supreme Being, carving a mark on the back of his divine soul's hand. Good. I'm going now. You cultivate well," said the Horn Clan's Supreme Being before he completely disappeared into the void. Take care. Night Sorrow only fought in this life and didn't study reincarnation. He didn't know where the Supreme Master of the Horn Clan would reincarnate. Thus he didn't think too much about it. He controlled his fluctuating mind and began to cultivate. After all, he didn't have much time left. I didn't expect that the trace of Supreme Being law that I comprehended from those Supreme Being materials could serve as a medium. allowing me to absorb a large amount of Supreme Being laws and essence and successfully decipher them. After absorbing these Supreme Being laws and essence, Knight Sorrow immediately realized that the Supreme Being laws he comprehended in the ancient coffin played a crucial role. However, as time passed, Knight Sorrow realized that he didn't have much time. It wasn't until 1 year before the final of the Battle of Providence that he absorbed the general rules and essence. If he chose to advance at this time, Knight Sorrow had the ability to break through to the Juggernaut realm. However, he felt that his foundation wouldn't be enough, so he didn't break through immediately. Instead, he left the cultivation room. Knight Sorrow, you're finally done cultivating. Look, what's this? Supreme Heavenly Treasure, who had been waiting for Knight Sorrow, immediately threw the golden heavenly halberd at him after Knight Sorrow appeared. Supreme Artifact? I've really mastered it. Looking at the golden heavenly halberd that Supreme Heavenly Treasure threw out, Knight Sorrow's pupils immediately contracted. There was a huge difference between a true Supreme Artifact and a half-step Supreme Artifact. The difference in aura was simply incomparable. After receiving the golden heavenly halberd, Knight Sorrow felt an extremely wild power. That kind of spirit that could tear heaven and earth apart wasn't something a juggernaut could possess. Is this the sovereign's heart? Knight Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, immediately had an epiphany. At this moment, the golden heavenly halberd in his hand suddenly struggled. Although it didn't have an artifact spirit, its pride as a supreme artifact made it reject being used by the Divine King. Do you think I'm not worthy of using you? Feeling the golden heavenly halberd struggle, Knight Sorrow immediately controlled the golden heavenly halberd and displayed his spear techniques in front of all the Supremes. His spear techniques were all displayed casually and weren't restricted by any spear techniques. At the beginning, it seemed extremely disorderly, but as time passed, all the Supremes realized that it was different. Silver Spear Supremacy. Yang Tiancheng's eyes lit up as he said, "Good spear techniques." Gradually, the golden heavenly halberd was completely tamed. Good spear. Knight Sorrow thanks all the Supremes. I won't say any polite words. Knight Sorrow will speak with results. Knight Sorrow kept the golden heavenly halberd and cupped his fists at the Supremes. At this moment, Zhu Feng said, "The others are already waiting for you in Ping'an City. Go quickly. This time, there are also 2 of your female companions." What? Jing Yun and Sister Fei also went to Ping'an City. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow immediately bid farewell to all the Supremes and stepped on the road to Ping'an City. After arriving at Ping'an City, Knight Sorrow indeed saw Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. However, Jing Yun didn't look too good at this moment. Knight Sorrow hurriedly asked, "Jing Yun, what's wrong?" "Husband, Yun, has already passed the age to participate in the battle for Providence. This time, I can't accompany all of you." When Jing Yun heard Knight Sorrow's words, she immediately cried out unwillingly. Wu Lingfei's age was within the suitable range, but she was already of the age, which made Jing Yun very sad. "Don't be sad. Cultivate well in Ping'an City and wait for us to return." Knight Sorrow gently stroked Jing Yun's hair and comforted her. Jing Yun's cultivation process was full of twists and turns, and she had gone through a reincarnation cycle. There were many age restrictions for participating in the battle for Providence. "Okay, I got it. Then you have to take good care of Sister Fei," Jing Yun called out awkwardly. She was much older than Wu Lingfei. However, she was used to calling her Aunt Fei. Now she could only call her sister and not sister. "Don't worry. I will take good care of everyone here and achieve good results for the realm of the gods." Knight Sorrow looked at Jing Yun with a smile and said goodbye to her. Then he looked at the others and said, "It's about time. Let's go." Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2948. My husband, take care. Sister Fei, take care. Everyone, take care. Jing Yun said with tears in her eyes when she saw everyone standing on the teleportation portal. She was very upset that she could not participate in the final round of the Battle of Providence. "Don't worry about us. Cultivate well. Strive to break through to the Dominator level as soon as possible. As long as I can return safely, I will bring you a lot of resources. Wu Lingfei stood on the teleportation portal and looked into Jing Yun's eyes as she spoke. After coming to the eternal supreme world, the two of them had been relying on each other. Now they were like sisters. Take care of yourselves, Jing Yun said again, and turned to leave. Night Sorrow and the others activated the teleportation portal and headed to the competition venue. I'm not sure if it will be the same as the last time. Everyone, prepare for battle. Before activating the portal, Night Sorrow did not forget to remind them. Don't worry. We are all ready. Everyone smiled in response. Only Wu Lingfei seemed to be at a loss. At this time, Night Sorrow comforted her. Sister Fei, don't worry. We will not be separated when we teleport. Okay. I got it. As Wu Lingfei responded, the teleportation portal was completely activated. A dazzling golden pillar of light immediately sucked the 10 people on the teleportation portal into it. It seems different this time. Soon, everyone landed on the ground. After landing on the ground, Murong Zijin looked at the surroundings and said, around them were all teams from other territories. These teams had more people than the Heavenly Realm. The strongest territory had hundreds of top dominators and could easily destroy the current Heavenly Realm territory. Looks like the final round is not going to be easy. Night Sorrow could not help but sigh as he scanned the other teams present. However, at this time, Master Wanjian laughed and said, there are also teams with fewer people. Look, isn't Blue Heart participating on her own? Haha, that's true. There must be many teams like her. Yuan Fengxue smiled and greeted Blue Heart, who was in front of him. At this time, Lan Xian was very relaxed because she who participated in the final round had no pressure at all. Hi. Hello everyone. Your strength has increased by quite a bit, Blue Heart said with a smile after sizing up the people from the God world. In the God realm, apart from the two divine kings, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei, the weakest Gold Xian was already an intermediate dominator. It was clear that their strength had increased. Among them, Murong Jinlu, Xue Changtian, and Yang Qing had improved the most. Yuan Fengxue, Nie Zhonglin, and Jin Xian were intermediate sovereigns. The 10,000 Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian had both reached the peak of the ruler realm with the help of many Nine Heavens Supremes. In other words, they were half supreme. Compared to when they participated in the second round, their strength had increased by a lot. This improvement was mainly due to the resources they had obtained in the second round of the competition. Looking at everyone, Blue Heart felt quite envious. However, thinking about her position in the Azure territory, she felt quite satisfied and relieved. Fairy Blue Heart, your strength has also increased. It seems that you've been valued greatly after returning. Yuan Fengxue smiled when he saw the envy on Lan Xian's face. Haha, this is all thanks to everyone's help, Blue Heart said with a smile. Then she looked at everyone and said, this time, the Azure territory does not have any expectations of results. I will treat myself as someone from the God realm and help you fight. Haha, thank you very much, Night Sorrow said politely. At this moment, Blue Heart suddenly turned her attention to Wu Lingfei and asked, is this a newcomer? I believe that to be able to participate in the finals, you must be like Night Sorrow and have the ability to fight above your level, right? Me. I've never tried to fight a dominator before, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. She was not used to Blue Heart's friendliness. In fact, she was confident that she could fight against a normal dominator. Haha. At this moment, Blue Heart wanted to say something. However, a mocking voice suddenly interrupted her. A burly cultivator with a cold face suddenly said, isn't this the Azure Territory's dominator Blue Heart? It's you. After seeing who it was, Blue Heart's originally smiling face was suddenly filled with a strong killing intent. This person was the Celestial Territory's vice captain, Yuan Henji. At that time, Blue Heart's clone had been killed by him. It was because of her clone that she had been able to survive. Haha, it's me. I didn't think that you would still be alive and enter the finals. What, did you enter the finals by riding on the coattails of these trash? Oh right. I understand now. You guys are riding on the coattails of the Celestial Shadow Territory. Yuan Henji looked at Blue Heart with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "You're the one who killed Ji Yun, right? Haha, I really have to thank you." At this point, his tone changed and he said, "However, although he's a dog, if you dare to kill someone from the celestial territory, there's only one outcome. Wait for death." Night Sorrow's body had the mark left behind by Ji Feng and Ji Yun's father. Everyone in the celestial territory could sense it, and would naturally be recognized if they met. However, Tianqing did not know that not only did Night Sorrow kill Ji Yun, but he also killed Ji Feng in the competition. "Did you also participate in the second round of the battle for Providence?" Night Sorrow did not get angry. Instead, he looked at Tianqing and asked, "Although my celestial territory lost Ji Feng and the others, we still won 6th place in the second round of the battle for Providence. Trash like you, just wait for your death. Remember, my name is Tianqing." Tianqing arrogantly said, then disdainfully turned around and left. Looking at Tianqing's back, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "You should be glad that we didn't meet in the second round. Oh, you're quite confident, aren't you? You're in the 900s and you want to challenge the 6th place?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tianqing immediately turned around and looked at Night Sorrow with interest. He made a throat-slitting gesture. He did not put the celestial realm in his eyes at all. Regarding this, everyone in the celestial realm showed disdain. This Tianqing in front of them was obviously not very strong. He was probably not a match for the Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian. Seeing that the people in the celestial realm did not put Tianqing in their eyes at all, Blue Heart immediately reminded, "This Tianqing's strength is indeed not very strong, but there's a very strong genius in the celestial territory. Sky Sword. Although he's as famous as Ji Feng, I heard that his true strength is much stronger than Ji Feng's. You have the mark of the celestial territory on you, so you must pay attention." Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2949. Sky Sword? Since he dares to name himself after a sword, his talent must be pretty good. I'm interested in fighting him. After Blue Heart finished speaking, Master Wanjian's body emitted a faint battle intent. At this moment, they were in a public area, so it was impossible for them to directly release their killing intent. That would very likely offend some territories. According to what I've heard, you shouldn't be a match for Sky Sword. Even the current Night Sorrow might not be a match for him, Blue Heart said with a solemn expression. At this moment, Yuan Fengxue asked curiously, "Blue Heart, where can we see the results of the second round and the final results of the previous competition?" Since Tianqing could accurately state the results of our realm of the gods, he must have seen it. Oh, there's a square in front. The final results of the previous Battle of Providence are there, and the results of the first and second rounds of this competition. Blue Heart pointed at the square in the distance and said, "Anyway, there's still some time before the finals begin. We can go take a look and have a certain understanding of the finals." "All right, let's go." Yuan Fengxue glanced at Blue Heart and said, "As for the people of the realm of the gods, they naturally wouldn't let the 2 female cultivators go to the square alone to watch the fun, so they followed one after another. What a grand venue." At this moment, Wu Lingfei, who looked at the surroundings, exclaimed in admiration. Looking around, the heaven and earth here were obviously higher and wider than the realm of the gods. Some of the buildings looked extremely grand, as if they were built for ancient times. In comparison, many of the cultivators participating in the competition looked as small as ants. The 6 stone pillars in the square were so tall that they seemed to reach the sky. When the crowd got closer, they immediately saw that these 6 towering stone pillars recorded the results of the 3 rounds of the previous tournament, and the results of the first and second rounds of this Battle of Providence. The empty one was waiting for the crowd to write. So in the second round of the Battle of Providence, the first place was the Silverhorn territory. Have any of you encountered them before? Seeing that the Silverhorn territory was first place in the second round of the Battle of Providence, Yuan Fengxue asked curiously. "I did come into contact with a young girl from the Silverhorn territory. Her ability is a little special. It can hide in the sky, and no one can find it. Everyone did not have any impression of the Silverhorn territory. At this moment, Knight Sorrow recounted his encounter with the silver-horned lady in the Forbidden Zone. This skill of theirs is really special. If they don't meet their nemesis, they will be invincible. After hearing Knight Sorrow's description, Xiao Tianxian frowned and said, since the other party had invaded the Divine Realm's Forbidden Zone, they were enemies. He was already thinking about how to deal with them. If we encounter them again, I have a way to deal with them. Don't worry. Seeing Xiao Tianxian frowning, Knight Sorrow reassured him. After their last encounter, he had been thinking about how to deal with such an enemy. After careful consideration, he felt that the secret technique of the Horn Clan should be effective. It's good that we have a way to deal with it. Xiao Tianxian nodded and pointed at the final result of the last battle of Providence. He said, I hope we can get a higher ranking this time and try our best to get a higher ranking. I will. I definitely will. Looking at the names on the final result list, Knight Sorrow muttered. The rest of the Divine Realm's people also had solemn expressions. They knew how important their mission was. That was to at least enter the top 1,000. Otherwise, the Divine Realm's territory would be destroyed directly. Hehe, you will? What will you do? Get a good result? You're just a bunch of shrimps? At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. A male cultivator in a Taoist robe slowly walked in front of Knight Sorrow and the rest. He said, I didn't expect that your Divine Realm's territory would be lucky enough to enter the finals of the Battle of Providence after so many years of decline. However, with trash like you, you'll be courting death if you enter. Who are you? After this male cultivator spoke, he immediately released an extremely powerful Divine Realm. It suppressed the Divine Realm's people so much that they could not speak. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow released his Divine Realm to resist for a while, and asked for the other party's name. Divine King, you have some ability to speak in front of me. How about this? If you swear to withdraw from the Divine Realm's territory and be loyal to me, Dao Tianming, and the Dao world, I'll forgive your disrespect. After Yishang spoke, Dao Tianming looked at him with a playful expression. Then he put on a fake smile and spoke. What? The Dao world? You're actually Dao Tianming from the Dao world. Upon hearing this name, the Divine Realm's people did not say anything, but Lan Xian immediately exclaimed, the Dao world. It was an existence ranked in the top 20 in the Eternal Supreme World. In the previous Battle of Providence, the Dao world had entered the top 15 and ranked 14th on the overall list. This kind of result was an existence that ordinary territories could only look up to. You're quite knowledgeable. However, it's not interesting. Dao Tianming glanced at Lan Xian and said this. However, he was clearly not interested. He still looked at Knight Sorrow and said, have you considered it? I, Dao Tianming, don't have that much patience. In fact, Knight Sorrow's strength and talent did not matter to Dao Tianming at all. He just wanted to take in a slave from the Divine Realm's territory and show off to other territories that were ranked at the top. Ha ha ha. What's the point of being a slave of the Dao world? Divine King of the Divine Realm's territory, I'll give you a chance to be my slave. I have a very high status in the Heavenly Lord's territory. Before Knight Sorrow could speak, a thin cultivator with an extremely shocking aura walked over slowly. His footsteps were very slow, but every step he took was in accordance with the Dao runes and could cross space. Han Songzi from the Heavenly Lord's territory? Why? Do you want to snatch my slave? Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you ranked 9th in the previous Battle of Providence. Dao Tianming shouted unhappily when he saw Han Songzi walk over. He did not show any fear in the face of Han Songzi, who ranked 9th. Obviously, the difference between these territories was not very big. I don't care if you're afraid or not. Anyway, this slave in front of me has to follow me. Han Songzi observed Knight Sorrow with interest and said, yes, not bad. I like this slave of yours very much. Scoundrel. Who are you calling a slave? Before Knight Sorrow could speak, the myriad sword sect beside him shouted unhappily. The territories that were ranked at the top were indeed very strong, and could suppress others until they could not breathe. However, they were really too pretentious. No one in the divine realm could accept the humiliation that Night Sorrow had suffered. At that moment, besides Night Sorrow, who was still calm, everyone else had a strong killing intent between their eyebrows. Chapter 2950. Trash like you, who gave you the right to speak? Do you want to die? After being yelled at by the 10,000 sword sect, Han Songzi was immediately enraged. He raised his hand and prepared to strike. However, after thinking about it, he retracted his hand. Interesting. How interesting. Dao Tianming, Han Songzi, what kind of servant is he that you two are fighting over? At this moment, a playful voice suddenly rang out. An ethereal figure suddenly descended from the sky. It was an extremely beautiful lady. Her dress looked like moonlight, and she had a very cold and ethereal aura. Fairy Yuan, do you want to have a share of the loot too? Dao Tianming, who did not take Han Songzi seriously, unconsciously became cautious when he saw the person who had come. This was because this Fairy Yuan came from the Moon Shadow Estate, which was ranked 5th in the previous competition. Furthermore, she was the strongest person in the Moon Shadow Estate. As for Han Songzi and Dao Tianming, they were not the strongest in their respective estates. Seeing Fairy Yuan's arrival, Han Songzi instantly became even more cautious. He said respectfully, Fairy Yuan, this is a servant from the realm of gods. I'm not interested in him, but the realm of gods has not entered the final competition for many years, which piqued my curiosity. I see. After Han Songzi finished speaking, Fairy Yuan sized up Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was neither sad nor happy. It was as if everyone's topic had nothing to do with him. This made Fairy Yuan curious. After observing for a while, she said coldly, with the Divine King's realm and the combat strength of a sovereign, your talent will be buried if you stay in the realm of gods. How about this? Leave the realm of gods and join the Moon Shadow Estate. I, Yuan, will guarantee that you will advance to the peak of a sovereign within one cycle. You're called Fairy Yuan? What's your ranking in the final competition? Night Sorrow did not directly answer the question. Instead, he asked a question. I, Fairy Yuan, come from the 5th-ranked Moon Shadow Estate. My personal strength is within the top 10 of this competition. Fairy Yuan said proudly. In fact, she was already being modest when she said that she was in the top 10. However, she felt that this kind of ranking and strength was enough for Night Sorrow, a cultivator from the god realm, to look up to. Seeing Night Sorrow ask about Fairy Yuan's background, Han Songzi and Dao Tianming instantly felt that they had no chance. Whether it was the strength of their territories or their individual strength, they were far inferior to Fairy Yuan. There was no competition. But right at this moment, something that surprised them happened. Night Sorrow, who had always been very calm, suddenly released a shocking killing intent. He looked at Yuan and said, all right. I'll remember you. See you in the finals. See you in the finals. Are you trying to make me your enemy? When Fairy Yuan heard Night Sorrow's words, a terrifying chill immediately rose on her originally cold face. She never thought that Night Sorrow would dare to say such things to her in public. He's an enemy to begin with, so there's no need to hide it. Night Sorrow looked at Yuan without backing down and continued. Also, the people of the god realm can be killed but not humiliated. The next time we meet, you and I will fight to the death. After Yuan finished speaking, Night Sorrow looked at Han Songzi and Dao Tianming respectively and said coldly, the same goes for the two of you. Ha ha ha. What a joke, what a joke. A piece of trash like you wants to challenge us? Are you people on the same level? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dao Tianming laughed loudly before Yuan could say anything, as if he had heard an extremely funny joke. In terms of individual strength, Fairy Yuan was definitely in the top 10 of this finals, while Han Songzi and Dao Tianming should be in the top 100, or even the top 50. Dao Tianming felt that Night Sorrow was completely ignorant of life and death when he said that they would fight to the death. As the Divine King, he had no right to say such words. Whether we're on the same level or not, we'll know after we meet. If I'm not wrong, you can't casually attack here. Otherwise, Han Songzi would have attacked the sword sect long ago. Since that's the case, we'll take our leave. Night Sorrow, who had already turned around, looked back at Dao Tianming and said these words. Then he led the other people from the realm of gods and left the square. They found a secluded corner and waited patiently for the battle to begin. When there was no one around, Blue Heart reminded him with a serious expression. Night Sorrow, the top-ranked territories in the finals are completely different from those in the second round. They're really incomparably powerful. You offended 3 of them just now. I'm afraid you'll be targeted in the competition. We stood in the square and didn't say anything. Didn't we also get targeted? Night Sorrow glanced at Blue Heart and said, if you don't want to get hurt, you'll never rely on a good attitude. It's your own fist. This had always been his principle, and it was also the law of survival of the fittest in the cultivation world. But Blue Heart wanted to say something, but she felt that Night Sorrow was overestimating himself and couldn't persuade him. In the end, she didn't say anything and quietly left the area where the realm of gods was located. She didn't want to be associated with Night Sorrow and the others anymore. Brother Yi, we all support you. No matter how strong the opponents are, we won't yield. After Blue Heart left, Wan Jianzong immediately said, even if we die in battle, we won't bend our backs. Although he had unlimited confidence in Night Sorrow, Wan Jianzong didn't dare to imagine that the realm of gods could defeat the Moon Shadow territory and enter the top 5 in the finals. Yeah, Brother Yi, all of us support you. We'll advance and retreat together with you. Yuan Fengxue said and then apologized. It's all my fault. If I didn't insist on going to the square, we wouldn't have met with such trouble. It's fine. Whether or not we're willing to face them, the top-ranked territories are also our mortal enemies. Don't forget what happened back then. Night Sorrow said. Then he said firmly, the opponents we met just now are indeed very strong. They're much stronger than us. But in the end, the ranking of our realm of gods might not be lower than theirs. After all, there's always a chance in any competition. Otherwise, there's no need for us to participate in the finals. We'll just be ranked directly. Yes. Night Sorrow is right. We mustn't let this affect our mood and confidence. At this time, Xiao Tianxian also comforted them. The realm of gods was not as strong as the 3 territories they had just defended. This was an indisputable fact. But the final result needed to be written in the process. Who could say for sure who would win and who would lose? Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, 3 loud bell tolls suddenly sounded in the arena where everyone was waiting. Then a huge battleship suddenly appeared in the sky. On the deck of the battleship stood 108 supreme martial artists. After these people appeared, the people below immediately stopped talking. Everyone knew that the finals of the battle for Providence were about to begin. Clan M. Chapter 2951. Silence. After the appearance of these 108 supreme martial artists, the scene became absolutely silent. However, there was still a Supremes on the patrolling warship who ordered everyone to be quiet. After he spoke, the waiting cultivators became even quieter. Even their breathing was controlled. Some people even held their breaths and looked up in the direction of the warship. Some people who were originally floating in the air all landed on the ground and looked up respectfully. Everyone knew that the 108 Supremes on the warship came from the 108 strongest territories. When everyone was completely silent, they looked at the warship respectfully. Supreme Yuling, who had just finished ordering everyone to be quiet, said, "Today is the final round of the Battle of Providence. According to past practice, we will invite a Supremes from the 4 great sacred lands to be the host of this final round." Supreme Yuling from the Moon Shadow Estate said solemnly, "Let us invite the Supremes from the 9 Mystical Estate, Feng Wuji." The 9 Mystical Estate is one of the 4 great sacred lands in the Eternal Supreme World. Senior Feng Wuji has also broken through the shackles of the Supremes and successfully advanced to the Earth Supreme level. Let us welcome Senior Feng Wuji with the warmest cheers. Boom. An Earth Supreme is hosting the final round. Senior Feng Wuji is one of the few experts who have broken through to the Earth Supreme level. It's really worth the trip to see him. After Supreme Yuling finished speaking, many people cheered. The 4 great sacred lands, the 9 mystical estate, the Sky Owl estate, the immortal extinction estate, and the life extension estate, were all existences that the other territories looked up to. The positions of the top 10 territories were constantly changing, but the 4 great sacred lands had not changed for countless years. Hello, I am Feng Wuji from the 9 mystical estate. Amidst the cheers, a figure silently appeared on the warship. He walked to the front of the deck, stood on the dragon-shaped mast, and introduced himself softly. Although his voice was soft, it was as if he was speaking beside everyone's ears. Even Night Sorrow and the others who were standing at the outermost circle felt that he was talking to them. It was a special feeling. Limitless Earth Sovereign. Limitless Earth Sovereign. Limitless Earth Sovereign. After Feng Wuji appeared, many people immediately cheered. Most of the cultivators were seeing an Earth Sovereign for the first time. Knowing that he was a true master of the eternal supreme world, he was very excited. On Feng Wuji's body, there was not a trace of divine power fluctuation, nor did he release any divine domain. However, he could clearly sense his strength. His understanding of power seemed to be different from all the other cultivators present. Although they were called Earth Sovereigns, there was a huge difference between sovereigns and sovereigns. They gave people a feeling that they had returned to their original state. Silence. Let's listen to Lord Earth Sovereign explain the rules of the finals. At this moment, the scene was a little noisy. Feng Wuji did not say anything, and Supreme Yuling immediately cleared the place. After the crowd quieted down again, Feng Wuji said, "First of all, congratulations to everyone for entering the finals. Out of all the teams that made it to the finals, the one that surprised me the most was the Realm of the Gods. Welcome back to this stage." When he spoke up to this point, Feng Wuji shot his gaze towards Yishang and the others. Under his seemingly gentle gaze, everyone, including Night Sorrow, immediately felt like they had been seen through. They felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that the other party was not doing this out of kindness. He was trying to expose them to the public and make them the target of public criticism. Thank you for your attention, Supremes. Although the other party was not expressing kindness, Night Sorrow still paid attention out of courtesy. At this moment, the cultivators of the Realm of the Gods instantly became lively, especially those with the most outstanding strength. They looked at the Realm of the Gods with a playful gaze. Although they did not participate in the operation against the Realm of the Gods, they knew very well about the supreme longevity. Many of them secretly remembered the aura of the people from the Realm of the Gods. Under such circumstances, the people from the Realm of the Gods did not dare to be dissatisfied. This was because an Earth Sovereign was definitely much more powerful than a Supreme. If they showed any disrespect, they would be killed immediately. Hehe, very good. Looks like another peerless genius has appeared in the Realm of the Gods. Feng Wuji glanced at Night Sorrow with a smile. Then he sent a ray of light into Night Sorrow's body and said, "This is the Earth Sovereign's rules and essence that I'm giving to you. After absorbing it, you will soon break through to the ruler realm. If you make good use of it in the finals, you will have a bright future." After Feng Wuji said this, the expressions of the cultivators at the scene changed completely. Their gazes towards Night Sorrow instantly turned crazy. Including the rulers of the 4 great sacred grounds, no one was not interested in the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign. Although they knew that the rules and essence that Feng Wuji had sent out was only a small part of it, everyone was still crazy about it. A man's wealth is his own ruin. This Feng Wuji on the surface seems to be helping me. In reality, he's obviously setting me up. What a vicious guy. You must have been one of the people who went against the supreme longevity. Is this how a so-called Earth Sovereign should behave? He's bullying a mere divine king. You're indeed not a good person. Night Sorrow's heart was as clear as a mirror when he sensed the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign that Feng Wuji had sent out. He gave it a try, but it was impossible for him to absorb the rules and essence with his current cultivation. Feng Wuji was obviously toying with him, trying to lure the cultivators of the other territories to pick on him. There was anger in his heart, but Yishang forcefully suppressed it. He said with a smile, "Yishang thanks Limitless Earthly Sovereign for his kind intentions. I'll try my best to protect the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign." Alright. 10 talents. Feng Wuji said with a fake smile. He then shifted his gaze elsewhere and said, let's get to the main topic. The rules of the finals are as follows. The top 32 teams from the previous tournament will be the seeded teams in the 32 small worlds. There will be 100 teams in each small world to compete for the final ranking. The teams will enter the next round according to their ranking. The first team will enter the top 32 teams. The second team will enter the 33 to 64 teams, and so on. Feng Wuji paused for a moment before continuing. This round is the same as the second round of the tournament. Everyone will have an identity badge. This badge can be used to calculate the points and also to save your life. If you choose to save your life or be killed by the cultivators of the other territories, your points will all become your opponent's points. Now let's start drawing lots. Apart from the top 32 territories, each territory will send a representative to draw lots on the battleship. Clan M. Chapter 2952. After Feng Wuji finished speaking, all the teams that had entered the finals of the Battle for Providence, but were not in the top 32 of the previous competition, sent out their representatives and flew toward the battleship. The representative sent by the Divine World was naturally Night Sorrow. In the process of flying toward the battleship, Night Sorrow was targeted and felt that it was very difficult to fly up. Because of the great pressure, he was the last to fly to the battleship. At that moment, the group drawing had actually ended. Feng Wuji sneered and let Night Sorrow be the last to participate in the drawing. After the last lot was drawn, he realized that it had the number 16 written on it. You're lucky to be in the 16th group. However, to the Divine World, the result is the same no matter where you draw. After Feng Wuji took the sign from Yishang's hand, he immediately sneered and said, although he did not directly attack Night Sorrow, ever since he appeared he had been making things difficult for Night Sorrow. Perhaps. Facing Feng Wuji, Night Sorrow indeed did not have the strength to contend against him, but he did not show weakness. He replied with a normal expression. I hope you will be like Supreme Longevity and not disappoint us. Feng Wuji glanced at Night Sorrow contemptuously and left directly. He was not interested in the subsequent announcement of the groups at all. After Feng Wuji left, the contestants of many territories also immediately returned to their battleships and returned to their own camps. Before long, Supreme Yuling created a huge 32 sparkling and translucent jade cards and suspended them in the void. Everyone looked at the jade cards and saw that the participating territories of the 32 groups were engraved on them. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Our group seed territory is the Dao World territory where Dao Tianming is. We have to be careful. After seeing the Dao World territory, the Myriad Sword sect immediately frowned and said, obviously, Dao Tianming of the Dao World territory had the intention of targeting the Divine World territory. Now that they were in the same group, it went without saying. At that moment, Night Sorrow said with a smile, there are many places we need to be careful of. Look at the way the other territories look at us. While the 10,000 Sword sect was observing the Jade token, Night Sorrow was using the Sea Serpent's eye to observe the other territories in all directions. He realized that the other territories that were assigned to the Heavenly Realm were all very excited, as if they had picked up a treasure. What they want is the earthly sovereign rules and essence in your body. Xiao Tianxian looked around and said, that so-called earthly sovereign is really despicable. His status is so high, yet he used such a despicable method on us. Actually, what he did was not bad. At the very least, it was an open scheme and not a conspiracy. We can think of a way to deal with it, Night Sorrow said and continued to look at the jade pendant. He realized that the saying, enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road, was indeed true. Besides the Dao World territory, there were also the Heaven Immortal territory and the Silver Horn territory in their group. It was unknown if it was a coincidence, or if someone had used some means to interfere with the grouping. After seeing the names of the Heaven Immortal territory and the Silver Horn territory, Night Sorrow said, after entering the small world, we'd better find a good position and set up a more powerful array. This way, if others want to deal with us, they will first enter the array. In that case, the rules and essence in my body are more like bait. Good. This is a good idea. The other territories are so jealous of you, so we'll teach them a thorough lesson. The 10,000 Swords sect said ruthlessly. Like the others in the Heavenly Realm territory, he was also holding his breath and wanted to bring back good results for the Heavenly Realm territory. At the very least, he wanted to be in the top 30 of the group. Who do you want to teach these pieces of trash a lesson? At that moment, Dao Tianming led some people from the Dao World territory over from afar. Upon hearing the 10,000 Swords sect's words, he immediately said disdainfully, "What are you pretending for? If you have the ability, do it here." The 10,000 Swords sect replied disdainfully after looking back at the overbearing Dao Tianming. So what if I do it? Do you think I don't dare? Upon hearing the 10,000 Swords sect's words, Dao Tianming smiled and suddenly slapped him. This slap was so fast that even Night Sorrow could not react in time. Boom. The 10,000 Swords sect was directly sent flying. Now that I've made a move, what can you do? Dao Tianming looked disdainfully at the 10,000 Swords sect, who was lying on the ground, and then looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "What can you do?" "I can't do anything, but I'll kill you in the finals." Night Sorrow glanced at the battleship above his head, and realized that the supreme being on it did not seem to have seen what was happening before him. It was clear that Dao Tianming had definitely received some kind of hint, which was why he dared to attack the 10,000 Swords sect. He said coldly, "Ha ha ha. You want to kill me? Fine, I'll wait for you." Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dao Tianming laughed loudly. However, he did not attack Night Sorrow. He turned around and left. After Dao Tianming left, Night Sorrow realized that the people of the Divine Immortal Territory and Silverhorn Territory were all looking at him attentively. However, he did not care about this at all. Instead, he helped the 10,000 Swords sect up and fed him a healing pill. He said, "Don't worry, Brother Wan. I'll definitely avenge you." Brother Yi, you can avenge the 10,000 Swords sect yourself. If you attack, I hope you can leave him alive. A trace of hatred flashed across the 10,000 Swords sect's face. He cared a lot about his image. Now that he was beaten up by Dao Tianming in public, he was very resentful. Night Sorrow nodded and did not say anything else. The other people of the Heavenly Realm territory talked about their own matters. After they finished talking, Supreme Being Yuling appeared again. She said, "Next, we'll send you into the corresponding small worlds. In these small worlds, there will be countless dark creatures. The strongest among them is already at the Supreme Being realm. Your mission is to try your best to kill the dark creatures and people of the other territories. Your final ranking will be determined by your points." After saying that, Supreme Being Yuling took out a huge jade talisman and floated it in the air. On the jade talisman were descriptions of various dark creatures and their points. Ordinary sovereign dark creatures were only worth 1 point. Supreme Being dark creatures were worth 999 points. As for the cultivators of the other territories, each of them were worth 10 points. However, killing cultivators of the other territories would give them the points they got from killing the dark creatures. After everyone finished reading the rules, Supreme Being Yuling continued, "Prepare yourselves. I'll activate the teleportation portal next. Remember, the battle in the small worlds will end in 100 years. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2953. After Supremacy Yuling spoke, many participants became nervous. Everyone from the realm of gods looked at each other and nodded, giving each other confidence. While they were nodding at each other, Supremacy Yuling and the other supremacies controlled the teleportation portals and teleported everyone to their respective small worlds. After that, Yuling walked into the cabin of the battleship to meet Feng Wuji. After entering Feng Wuji's room, Yuling bowed and said, "Sir, I've done what you asked me to do. The realm of gods should be teleported to the center of the small worlds. It's basically impossible for them to avoid the other territories. Now, you can watch how they're killed." "You've done well." When Feng Wuji heard Yuling's words, he responded with a fake smile and continued, "There's no need to rush to watch the battle. I called you here because there's something I want to discuss with you. Oh, sir, if you have anything to say, just tell me. Hearing this, Yuling said in fear. Although he came from the 5th territory Moonshadow Estate, he was still very afraid of an Earth supremacy like Feng Wuji. Not only has our 9 mystical estate not gotten first place in the battle for Providence for many years, but we've also been ranked 4th for more than 10 times. This is definitely a disgrace. What do you think I should do to let our 9 mystical estate win first place? Feng Wuji played with 2 jade balls the size of fingernails in his hands. This simple action brought a lot of pressure to Supremacy Yuling. He thought for a while and said, Sir, I have no way to let the 9 mystical estate win first place. But it's not a big problem to get into the top 3. As long as there's no seeding in the battle for the top 32, we'll draw lots and let the Sky Owl Estate, Celestial Extinction Estate, and Life Extension Estate meet in advance. It'll be easy for the 9 mystical estate to get into the top 3. Good. When it comes to the battle for the top 32, the rules will be set like this. Feng Wuji nodded in satisfaction after he understood Supremacy Yuling's words. Then he murmured in an almost undetectable voice, Supreme Longevity, can you really return like you said back then? Feng Wuji still felt a lingering fear when he recalled the battle against the Supreme Longevity. At that time, the Supreme Longevity had already successfully become an earthly sovereign before anyone else. His strength was the best in the entire Eternal Sovereign world, but his realm had not yet stabilized. However, he was besieged by the super experts of dozens of territories and eventually died. As for the Divine Realm territory, the fact that it could survive until today was not because it had accumulated enough karmic luck. It was a message left behind by the various territories when they feared the fall of the Supreme Longevity. When I return, I will destroy the God world. The 9 heavens and 10 earths will definitely be destroyed. In other words, if these territories didn't destroy the territories of the God realm, then what happened today would be considered a personal grudge. If a territory destroyed a territory in the divine realm, then when he returned he would destroy that territory. It was precisely because they were afraid of the return of the Supreme Longevity that some of the territories ranked at the top, although they targeted the territories of the heavenly realm, did not make the final move. When their providence ran out, they would naturally die. My lord, is it really possible for the Supreme Longevity to return after being dead for so many years? Even if he does return, he shouldn't be able to keep up with you adults, right? After all, your cultivation realm has already surpassed his back then. Hearing Feng Wuji's murmurs, Supreme Yuling asked doubtfully. You don't understand how talented the Supreme Longevity is. Actually, the reason why we are where we are today is because we plucked the fruits of his labor. If he really returns, it will definitely cause a huge commotion. However, the final outcome will still be his death. Feng Wuji said solemnly. At this point he ordered, you go out and take care of the situation. Yes, my lord. After Supreme Yuling left Feng Wuji's place, she returned to the deck and looked at the 32 jade tokens floating in the air with the others. At this time, the jade tokens were filled with images of the territories' battles. Every single one of the 3,200 territories appeared in the images. Supreme Yuling's gaze immediately locked onto the territories of the Divine Realm. At this time, the territories of the Divine Realm had just landed on a plane in the small world. This plane had a radius of several million li, and the surface of the plane was filled with green grass that was as tall as a person. When the wind blew, the green grass would undulate continuously, looking like a wheat field. The scary thing was that when the green grass was bent by the wind, countless short ferocious beasts appeared from the grass. These ferocious beasts looked a little like wolves, but upon closer inspection, they were different. They looked more like ordinary wolves that had been thrown into lava, and were quickly fished out. They looked extremely ugly. Hee, it's indeed the center of the small world. Let's see how you all survive. Looking at the ferocious beasts that appeared in the images, Supreme Yuling revealed a cold smile. She knew very well that the only supreme-level ferocious beast in this small world was hidden in this boundless plain. If the territories of the Divine Realm fought too fiercely with these ferocious beasts, it would definitely be lured out. Just as Supreme Yuling was observing the people of the Divine Realm, Night Sorrow, who had activated the clam dragon's eye, saw everything clearly. As he sucked in a breath of cold air, he realized that the number of ferocious beasts was practically endless. He immediately thought of a countermeasure. After all, these ferocious beasts were all at the Dominator level. If they fought them head-on, they would definitely not be able to win. Brother Yi, why do you look so pale? Isn't it just some ferocious beasts around? At this moment, Master Wan Jian saw that Yi Shang's expression did not look too good. He had already noticed the ferocious beasts around, but he could not see as far as Night Sorrow. Things are not that simple. There are too many ferocious beasts around us to count. Let's prepare the battleship and use it to escape. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow finally revealed the truth. He knew that the Divine Realm had no chance of winning against so many ferocious beasts in this vast plain. I have a battleship here. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Jin Xian immediately spoke up. Xue Changtian also nodded and told everyone that he had a battleship as well. I know these two battleships. Jin Xian, take out the battleship. Everyone, get on the battleship and we will leave immediately. Night Sorrow said decisively. The ferocious beasts were still summoning their companions to attack. He wanted to use this opportunity to ask Jin Xian to summon the battleship and bring everyone away. All right, I'll summon it now. But just as Jin Xian was about to summon the battleship, all of a sudden, the wolf-shaped beasts roared and charged at the people from the divine world. Genius memorized the address of this site. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2954. Not good. A large number of wolf-shaped beasts are pouncing on us. If we summon the battleship now, it will definitely become a target for everyone. It will be destroyed by them very soon. Let's fight first, and wait for the right time to summon the battleship. Night Sorrow said and continued. There are too many wolf-shaped beasts. We are definitely no match for them. Therefore, we need to test their weakness. As long as we find out what they are afraid of, we can leave safely. Alright. Let me test out the Great Deity Sword technique. Seeing a large number of wolf-shaped beasts pouncing on them, Master Wan Jian immediately used the Great Deity Sword technique and transformed into a giant sword to meet them. Asterisk boom. Asterisk Master Wan Jian, who had transformed into a giant sword, suddenly killed all the wolf-shaped beasts in front of him. These wolf-shaped beasts are not too strong. Each of us can deal with some of them. Master Wan Jian immediately shouted after making his move. However, he soon realized that after he made his move, the number of wolf-shaped beasts around him had increased by a lot. Looking around, within a radius of 100,000 miles, there was a dense pack of wolf-shaped beasts. This scene made his hair stand on end. Everyone, form a circle. Try your best to use more tricks. Just like Night Sorrow said, as long as we find out the weakness of these wolf-shaped beasts, we will be able to survive. Seeing a large number of wolf-shaped beasts surrounding them, Xiao Tianxian immediately shouted. After that, the 10 people of the heavenly realm spread out and left their backs to the others as they fought with the wolf-shaped beasts. Although the wolf-shaped beasts were not too strong, and were even weaker than the weakest ruler, there were too many of them, and they brought a lot of pressure to them. After fighting for about 15 minutes, everyone tried all kinds of attacks. Although the effect was not bad, they did not find anything that could make them afraid. Night Sorrow, who was in the middle of the battle, thought to himself, even the power of virtue could not make them afraid. What are these beasts afraid of? Fighting like this is not the way to go. After thinking for a moment, he shouted, everyone, try using all kinds of elemental attacks. Alright. Everyone, use your elemental attacks. Jin Xian also shouted in a low voice. As the battle progressed, Jin Xian, who was the weakest among them, gradually felt the pressure. As for the weaker Wu Ling Fei, with Night Sorrow taking care of her, her situation was much better. However, the Eternal Sovereign World was different from the Deity World. As a higher-level world, the Eternal Sovereign World was obviously more perfect. Everyone could basically cultivate the complete taboo attribute. Therefore, no one would use ordinary attribute attacks. After Night Sorrow spoke, everyone began to use their metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and other elements. However, as the battle progressed, the people of the heavenly world realized that these wolf-shaped beasts were not afraid of any element. The single elemental attack they used was not effective at all. Even if Night Sorrow used his power of merit without holding back, it would not have much of an effect. Moreover, as the battle went on, more and more wolf-like ominous beasts appeared. Nie Zhonglin and Jin Xian, who were relatively weaker, were gradually unable to hold on any longer. Haha, you bunch of trash, your combat power is stronger than I expected. But so what? The dire wolves are endless. How can you resist them? Supreme Yuling, who was standing on the deck of the warship, saw that the people of the heavenly world were becoming more and more wretched. At this time, Feng Wuji's voice rang in her ears. Well done. Thank you for the compliment, everyone. Supreme Yuling immediately replied in fear. Don't be afraid, continue watching the show. Feng Wuji said again, and then went completely silent, continuing to observe the battle. He was looking to see if there was any reincarnation of supreme longevity among the people of the heavenly world. However, after a while he did not find anything. After all, Night Sorrow and the rest did not have any similarities with the methods used by supreme longevity. While Feng Wuji and Yuling were observing them, Night Sorrow and the rest's battle became more and more difficult. It was not only Nie Zhonglin and Jin Xian who were injured. Murong Jinlu and Yuan Fengxue were also not having it easy. These dire wolves were so crazy that they did not fear death. After their companions were killed, they became even more ferocious. Brother Yi, what should we do? If we continue fighting, I'm afraid we won't be able to hold on. These wolf-like beasts are getting more and more terrifying. Seeing the situation in front of them, Master Wan Jian, who was also feeling the pressure, frowned and shouted. Just as he said, if this battle continued, what awaited them would definitely be death. The situation in front of them was obviously more difficult than what they encountered in the blood-colored star. Although the battle in the blood-colored star was difficult, there was still hope. The battle in front of them gave them a feeling of endless suffering. We can't go on like this. I'll use my supreme artifact to buy you some time. Get on the battleship and escape. I'll catch up to you. After opening the sea serpent's eye and observing for a while, Night Sorrow realized that the dire wolves were still attacking from afar. He knew that the situation in front of them was not easy to solve. He immediately took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been upgraded to a supreme artifact, and he smashed it on the grass. Boom! With just a simple smash, an endless amount of energy ripples spread out and blasted towards the dire wolves. Like a wave, all the dire wolves within dozens of miles were killed. A supreme artifact is indeed extraordinary. Seeing the power of Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd, the rest of the people in the divine realm praised. You guys go quickly. I'll cover you. Originally, Night Sorrow did not want to use the golden heavenly halberd so quickly because it was his trump card. But the pressure in front of them was too great. If he did not use it, the people in the divine realm would have no chance of survival. Everyone go quickly. Follow me. At this time, Jin Xian decisively summoned the battleship and asked everyone to board it. When everyone boarded the battleship, a large number of dire wolves attacked and flew into the void. At this time, Night Sorrow summoned the golden heavenly halberd and blasted out a spear technique similar to the fiery demon spear. Immediately, a large area of flames was blasted out in the void. After being blasted by the supreme artifact's flames, most of the dire wolves were killed. The pressure on the battleship was obviously reduced by a lot. They can't withstand the supreme artifact's energy. Everyone go quickly. I can hold off these wolf-shaped beasts. The golden heavenly halberd's attack quickly turned a large number of dire wolves into ashes. Night Sorrow immediately felt relieved. These dire wolves were not afraid of all kinds of attacks, but they were obviously suppressed by the supreme artifact's attacks. The supreme artifact's attacks should be their only weakness. After fighting for a while more, the battleship had completely arrived in the void. The number of dire wolves that could catch up to them was decreasing. Everyone in the divine realm heaved a sigh of relief. It was really dangerous. If it wasn't for Brother Ye's supreme artifact, we would have died. Yuan Fengxue patted his heaving chest and said. But at this time, a loud wolf howl suddenly sounded from the vast grassland. Genius remembered this address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2955. As soon as the wolf howled, the dire wolves that were charging towards Night Sorrow and the battleship immediately stopped. However, Night Sorrow and the rest did not feel lucky because of this. That was because the howl had caused everyone present to tremble from the depths of their souls. It was obvious that this was a supreme world-class ferocious beast. Although Night Sorrow had a real Supreme Realm artifact, he still had no chance of winning against a Supreme Realm beast. Oh no, there's actually a Supreme Realm dire wolf on this grassland. Let's run. Night Sorrow, who shouted this, had a completely changed expression, because he knew that a Supreme Realm dire wolf was not something they could deal with. At this moment, he could only hope that the Supreme Realm dire wolf was further away from them. That way they would have a higher chance of survival. Little bastard, I didn't expect you to have a Supreme Realm artifact. But so what? Let's see how you block the Supreme Realm dire wolf's attack. Supreme Yuling, who was watching from the deck, revealed a smug and sinister smile. He was very surprised that Night Sorrow, who was born in a territory that had declined for a long time, could still take out a Supreme Realm artifact. However, after the appearance of the Supreme Realm dire wolf, he completely calmed down and watched the show calmly. Brother Yi, which direction should we escape in? After the battleship started moving, Jin Xian asked with a trembling voice. At this moment, he was very afraid that he would choose the wrong direction and fly towards the Supreme Realm dire wolf. Fly this way. Night Sorrow, who had noticed the direction where the wolves were worshipping, pointed in the opposite direction. He guessed that the direction where the wolves were worshipping was definitely where the Supreme Realm dire wolf was. Okay. Jin Xian replied and drove the battleship in the direction that Night Sorrow had pointed. After worshipping, the numerous dire wolves quickly resumed their pursuit and chased in the direction of the battleship. At the Dominator realm, flying was no longer a problem for these dire wolves. In an instant, countless dire wolves crazily chased behind the flying battleship. Awah! At this moment, the huge wolf howl sounded from afar again. Xiao Tianxian said with a headache, "Not good. The supreme level dire wolf is getting closer and closer." At this moment, Night Sorrow walked to Jin Xian's side and said, "Let me pilot the battleship." "Good. Then I'll have to trouble you, Brother Yi." Jin Xian, whose forehead was already covered in sweat, gave up his position to Night Sorrow. Together with the others, he stood at the rear of the battleship and attacked the dire wolves that had caught up to them, preventing them from boarding the battleship. These dire wolves are really fast. Master Wan Jian, who was standing at the stern of the ship, couldn't help but sigh as he blocked the dire wolf with his sword. The speed of these dire wolves was clearly faster than a cultivator like him. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was ordinary, then he was truly heaven-defying. If we can't even shake off the ordinary dire wolves, then the sovereign dire wolves will definitely catch up to us. Yuan Fengxue, who was blocking the dire wolves beside the myriad sword sect, frowned as he spoke. Hearing this, the faces of Murong Jinlu and the others turned ugly. A dire wolf king was definitely stronger than an ordinary dire wolf. This was a very simple logic. After thinking for a moment, they felt that the Supreme Wolf King would definitely catch up. Thinking of this, Xiao Tianxian immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "Can we still speed up a little? At this rate, the Supreme Wolf King will definitely catch up." "I'll do my best. This battleship consumes eternal god crystals at this speed." Night Sorrow replied to Xiao Tianxian, and began to think about what to use as a source of energy for the battleship. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow's eyes suddenly lit up. He took out some Sovereign's essence and used it as a source of energy for the battleship. After absorbing the Sovereign's essence, the battleship's speed had indeed increased by 30 to 40%. After the battleship's speed increased, most of the dire wolves were gradually pulled apart. Less than a tenth of them were still able to keep up. In this way, the pressure on Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian and the others was reduced by a lot. However, before everyone could laugh, the third wolf howl resounded in the void. This time, the wolf howl sounded much clearer than the previous 2 times. The expressions of Myriad Sword Sect and the others immediately changed. He bit his lips and said helplessly, "The Supreme Wolf King is getting closer and closer. It's getting more and more dangerous. I don't know what to do. I'm also very helpless." Xiao Tianxian also sighed. They had no way to deal with the Supreme Wolf King. They could only try their best to resist these ordinary dire wolves. "Ha ha. I'll see how you guys die." Yu Ling, who was watching all of this, had a sinister smile on his face. Seeing the Supreme Wolf King getting closer and closer to the heavenly realm, his smile became brighter and brighter. However, at this moment, he suddenly realized that the heavenly realm battleship's speed had increased by a lot again. After this time, the heavenly realm battleship had almost shaken off all the ordinary dire wolves. Even the Supreme Wolf King was a little further away from them. "Damn it, what's going on? What happened?" Yu Ling muttered gloomily when he saw the scene in front of him. "I'm afraid they're using the Supreme Law to power the battleship." At this moment, Feng Wuji's cold voice suddenly sounded. "They have the Supreme Wolf King's essence on them?" Yu Ling heard Feng Wuji's voice and said in disbelief. "Although the heavenly realm has declined, it's not a big deal to have some supreme law and essence." Feng Wuji's brows were more indifferent. After saying that, he continued. "Not only that, he has the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence on him. This time he shouldn't die. It's really too easy for these ants," Yu Ling said fiercely. He was not satisfied that he did not wipe out the entire Heavenly Realm battleship. "Humph. What do you know? If they are eliminated so early, how can we be sure that there's a reincarnation of the supreme longevity among them?" Feng Wuji said emotionlessly. However, Yu Ling could hear the sinister meaning in his words. In the small world, after Night Sorrow used the Supreme Wolf King's essence, he quickly shook off the dire wolves and the Supreme Wolf King. However, after being shaken off, the Supreme Wolf King once again howled and burned its bloodline power to chase after him. Not long after, the Heavenly Realm battleships could clearly see the Supreme Wolf King's figure. The Supreme Wolf King was 1,000 times bigger than the ordinary dire wolves. It had a pair of wings and looked extremely ferocious, like a devil from hell. "We're definitely no match for it now. There's only one way left." The Heavenly Realm battleship's faces changed. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow used the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence that Feng Wuji had injected into his body. The Earth Supreme Wolf King could not absorb the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence, nor could it be swatted out of his body. However, if he cut off the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence along with his flesh, the battleship could absorb it. After absorbing the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence, the battleship lifted up again in an instant, and quickly shook the Supreme Wolf King off as it disappeared into the horizon. However, just as it shook the Supreme Wolf King off, the battleship exploded with a boom. Clan, you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.